What happened to me whilst I was in prison and everything that happens, it's fucking horrific, really. And I went to prison 25 years old, in long blonde hair, looked like the Milky Bar Kid, thinking, I'm going to get stabbed, banged. Someone's come to the window. Who's Frank Stedman? He's got a big fucking scar on his face. You know, he's sitting there thinking, and we're spending our last 30 quid on food. I said to her, I'm going to make a phone call and I'm going to start serving up. So I made one phone call and bang, I was back in it.
Nobody got shanked and nobody got hot oil, so that to me didn't really make it real.
By looking at me, you know, I'm not going to bully someone. Imagine me saying, do you want to fucking fight? I'd go, mate, you're going to mess your hair up. He'd done a gangland thing, got a family, tied them up, set fire to them, tortured them, set fire to the house. He cooked a lovely food. Got a phone call, job's gone over. I said, what do I do? And they said, go on the run. They've gone, you're nicked. So I'm like, no shit. I'm not a fighter or anything. I've just got up. And the airport police, get back in your fucking seat. And I've looked him up and down. He had an earpiece in. Do you know the skin-coloured ones?
Right.
And I was like, I pleaded guilty.
Right, okay.
Because of that video of where I turned around in a fucking camera.
Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast, and this episode is proudly brought to you by Betovo. Before we get stuck into this week's episode, we're going to give a big shout out to our sponsors. This season's podcast is brought to you by Superstar Speakers Events. They are the UK's #1 destination for exclusive live experiences. These guys don't just put on events, they deliver unforgettable nights with some of the biggest names in sports, entertainment and beyond. From jaw-dropping Q&A sessions to meet and greets and unmissable stage interviews, they bring you face-to-face with the icons you love. Whether it's football legends spilling the secrets of the beautiful game or entertainment stars sharing untold stories, Superstar Speakers knows how to create memories that last a lifetime. And here's the big news. I'll be teaming up with them for an evening with Terry Stone, a live tour you won't want to miss. Head over to superstarspeakers.co.uk for dates, details and tickets. Massive thanks to Superstar Speakers for supporting our podcast. Please go check out their up-and-coming events now and book yourself a night to remember. Click on the link below and get involved. Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast. My name's Terry Stone, aka the Podfather. We've got a great guest today. His name's Frankie Stedman. He's an Essex boy. He got wrapped up in an £80 million cocaine deal, but he's here to tell his story. He's actually released a book called To Be Frank, which I thought was hilarious because I've also bought out a film called To Be Frank, and it was about Frank Sinatra's 100 years in the business for his birthday. So please put your hands together to our own Frank from Essex, Mr. Frank Stedman's in the house.
Thanks, Del.
How you doing, mate?
Good introduction, that wasn't it?
No, but I just saw To Be Frank, and I've always been a big Sinatra fan.
Yeah, I liked Sinatra when I was a teenager.
Right.
And my mates going, what the fuck's that? And then Robbie Williams brought a swing out, man, and everyone liked it.
Oh, I like that. Well, you like Sinatra then.
Yeah.
But we had two names for our film. We had Sinatra 100.
Yeah.
We had To Be Frank, and we had Being Frank Sinatra 100. So we had all these different titles.
To Be
Frank's good as well.
I was lucky my name's Frank, really.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. To be Paul, that would be a bit
or
shit,
To Be
wouldn't
John, it wouldn't be that good. People go, what does that mean? But To Be Frank, it's got that double meaning. But
everyone's saying you should maybe bring another one out if you do well in life and call it To Be Completely Frank. Fucking hell. I can't write another
you could
book.
it'd be like a trilogy, but it'd be like a Frankology.
To Frank, yeah. To Be Frank, Don't Be Frank.
But yeah, no, I obviously your book come out, and did you release that alongside Banged Up? Because you was in Banged Up as well.
Yeah. So I got it out ready for Banged Up, thinking that it's done amazing, that program.
But Banged Up, I mean, someone told me the other day, millions of people watched that.
It's broke like Channel 4 records.
I mean, I watched it,
and
the reason I watched it was because I wanted to see how the celebrities got on.
Yeah.
And the only sort of, I'm not a TV critic, but I think the only criticisms I had of that show was nobody got shanked and nobody got hot oil. So that to me didn't really make it real.
Well, I'm joking. I wished someone did get hot oil, but the camera weren't on. No, this is what I said in the beginning. I said, these celebrities coming in there, they know that there's no absolute threat. When I went to prison 25 years old, in long blonde hair, looked like the Milky Bar Kid, thinking, I'm going to get
Did
stabbed.
they call you that?
No,
Did they call you that? It's the Milky Mark here.
Yeah.
It's Frankie.
not strong and tough, weak and rough. No, and I thought to myself, when you're going to prison, you've got that real. I said to the production team, like, they know they're not going to get hurt.
Right.
So that fear, but then a couple of them really, really played a good part in it, and like
There was 4 episodes of that show.
yeah. But we was in there 2 weeks.
So it was all filmed in 2 weeks.
24 hours in there 2 weeks. We was all not allowed. The first 3 days, if you get anyone else in there, the first 3 days was a real prison. Everyone was thinking, who's he, what's this? Like, because you think to yourself, no one's going to hurt the celebrities, but the prisoners might fight each other.
Right.
Because you're thinking, I'm not going to lose any face. And and I think because they got everyone off of the internet, everyone were quite big characters. There's some big characters in there, some others, and some faded away. Some got kicked off because they were too leery.
Right.
And it was I wouldn't say like people say it's an amazing experience. We all went to prison. It was in there, so it was,
And it wasn't an amazing experience.
Yeah, so like everyone knows what prison was like, but to have a laugh. But I put my hand up right in the beginning of the whole thing, and I said, I'm not a bully, by looking at me, I'm not going to bully someone. Imagine me saying, "Do you want to fucking fight?" They'd go, "Mate, you're going to mess your hair up." So I told him straight away, put my hand up in the big room. I'm not going to bully a celebrity. So if you want everyone here to bully the celebrities, but I just had a laugh throughout my whole prison sentence.
Was that the?
We were told to do that.
Oh right, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
that wasn't. I wouldn't say it was the. We was told, give the celebrities a hard time, beast them in the gym and things like that.
I suppose it's all right unless you get somebody who actually turn around and goes. But actually does there is an altercation because some
might turn around and say no fucking way, and then the prisoner ain't going to back down on TV.
But what I mean is like people do have this sort of myth, that celebrities are all like soft and they're all sort of.
Well, we had that Gogglebox bloke in there. He was a boxer,
right? But I thought him and who was the MP who was in there?
Neil Parish.
No, not him. The other guy. There was a
Peter Hitchens, the journalist.
No, there was a guy. I can't think of his name now, but he was an MP, and I think he was in the Marines or he was in the SAS.
Oh, so Johnny Mercer.
Johnny Mercer, right?
He wasn't in there when we was in there.
Right.
He was in the pilot.
Okay,
but he did not take no shit.
But that's what I'm saying. If you,
I reckon he's an ex-Marine and all that.
But if you start bullying him, he'd probably spark
you out. He'd have it with you.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean.
Well, he wasn't fazed by Kevin, was he? And Kevin's quite scary if you don't like you. Or, he's not. I get on really well with Kevin, so he's not in my eyes. He's a nice bloke, which is a nice bloke. Yeah. But you can imagine if he switches on you. But that Johnny Mercer, he didn't give a shit, did he?
Yeah. But I think with a lot of them, as I said, like if you like Peter Hitchens isn't going to start beating people up.
No, but there was a young pop star in there, and I sort of saw.
Was that Harvey?
Yeah, saw myself in him. Not literally. I saw myself in him because he was 25, and when I went to prison, and he just slipped. He come in first and he just slipped in, sort of made everyone laugh, was really cool. And I thought to myself, he'd actually last. You'd look at him and think you wouldn't last in prison. But I looked like that when I went to prison.
Got it.
And I didn't get any trouble. A couple of things to do with football, because I played football. But you just think, he slipped in. He slipped in the environment far too easily.
Well, so obviously, talking about actual prison versus obviously the reality show. Yeah. We've had different people on here talking about their prison experiences. And most of them say you go in there and, depending on what character you are, depends on whether you have aggravation or not.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you go in there giving it a large, you are going to get some. But every day you're going to have somebody trying to do something.
Yeah, it's funny because, like you say, you can't go in there double vulnerable.
Yeah.
I suppose I was vulnerable. I was like 25. Like 7 stone dripping wet, never been in prison before, wasn't around criminals as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus. But I sort of, being around pubs and clubs, I sort of knew my place. So you're like thinking, right, what do I do here? So I was having a laugh and a joke, played football, and everyone wants the good footballer on their team. So I was a bit like that. But you just got to be switched on 24/7.
Right.
Like you're walking around the yard, looking at the sun, trying to escape for 2 seconds. You think, oh, this is nice. And then someone comes up and says, "Here, mate, can you take that in for me?" And you just got to say no. And then he's like, "Mate, take this in for me." And I'm like, "No, mate, I'm not doing it." And then walk off. But I can imagine someone would say that. They'd say no the first time. The second time, they go, "Oh, okay." But you just got to push your chest out.
Why? Take what in? What?
So say when I was in Belmarsh, that happened to me in Belmarsh. all the wings go on exercise in Belmarsh because they're like spurs, not wings. You're on. I was on induction wing, I think they called it Beirut. So it was the worst prison at Belmarsh.
Wow.
And all the spurs go on exercise. But say I'm on one spur and you're on another.
Yeah.
I'll be like, Terry, I'll get something over to you later. And then you look on your wing and you'll go, oh, there's a young lad. That's in Belmarsh because it's new. Everyone's new there. So someone just comes up to you. Can you take that back on your wing? You're like, no way. But then when you're in Loudon Grange, when I went to, where everyone's been in a long time, if you're on, say, P wing and I'm on E wing, and I go, I'll get someone. You ask your mate, and your mate will, when everyone's moving in the morning, your mate will see someone. It was all done when everyone's been in prison a long time. I think everything's done on merit and friends.
Got it.
But when you go into prison first, this is only my experience in Belmarsh. No one knew anyone, and it was like a conveyor belt.
Wow.
Someone gets beaten up, the screws weigh him in, and he's gone, and there's someone else in his cell, and you think, Jesus, every time the door opened, the alarm was going off.
Wow.
And that pressure-wise, that was the worst prison. I went to Leicester prison for a short time. That was really dirty, and that was a bit like Wormwood Scrubs.
Got it.
But the pressure, Belmarsh, that was the one.
Was that just because of there was a lot of aggravation there?
Yeah, I think there was a geezer got hot oil. I didn't see it. I heard that a geezer got hot oiled and heard it because something to do with he wouldn't. I don't know. It's something to do with the 2-minute silence, and the Muslims wouldn't. The Muslims wouldn't recognise that it was our Remembrance Day.
Right.
So one of the lads has oiled a Muslim bloke, and you hear the screaming, and then even the screws. You see the screws nudge someone into another one, and then he's turned around. What you doing? And because they don't like him, the screws were quite good in that prison. To someone comes a wing, like you said, giving it the big 'em. Before prisoners got them, the screws had them in Belmarsh. Wow. And when I went on to, I would say Loudon Grange, I spent a majority of the time there. When I went there, the screws were a little bit nicer, and they say, "Oh, call me Terry or call me Frank," and you think to yourself, I'm not used to that. You call them Gov for a little while, or Sir, Miss, and all that. And after a while, you sort of get softened by that prison, and you think to yourself, if it kicked off, these ain't got a chance, these. But in Belmarsh, they're all ex-military and all that in there.
Going into that environment, when they're passing stuff around, if you'd have said yes, what would be the danger?
Well, they're going to ask you every day.
Right, okay. So then you become like a gopher.
Yeah, and then which I was outside.
Right.
And then you get caught. You can get more time, can't you? Another 8 years for dealing in prison. And then you're on closed visits. You don't see your
8
kids.
Years?
A bloke I know, he was dealing in prison, but I think he was the main dealer. He wasn't running.
Okay.
He got another 8 years on his sentence.
I mean, that must have been...
Which is 4 years you do. So on top of what you've got, it's like another half a decade.
Wow.
So, but it's so mad. Like everyone's in prison for the same thing. Say conspiracy supply class A, but you'll never meet one person who's the same as the other because he done this, he done that, and it's an extra year here, a less year there, and another 10 years here, and you think,
wow.
But yeah, it's and as well and once they know they've got you. They can, say for instance, you give me something and I go and give it to him. When I get to him, they turn around and go, "No, he give you more." And I go, "No, he didn't." And then all of a sudden,
you owe him the money.
You owe him the money, and then they're ringing. I'm only surmising, because it never happened to me. I'm thinking that's how it works.
Well, it's an easy move, though, isn't it? It's an easy
and then
move.
they're ringing your family outside. And where I had no criminal connections, I was lucky. A friend outside, when I went into Wormwood Scrubs and first got nicked, a friend outside. I played men's football from a really young age, and then a friend outside messaged another friend, and someone come up to me. It's funny. Someone come up to me in the cell when I first big dorm. When you go in Wormwood Scrubs, you're in a massive dorm originally. Right. Someone's come to the window. Who's Frank Stedman? He's got a big fucking scar on his face. He's sitting there thinking, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Frank. So you just come back from Thailand? He's got, yeah. And do you know when you're open, it's a screw. And if I open the door, the screws open the door, and it's a prisoner there. And I'm thinking, oh. Because you just don't know. I'm so green. I've never met anyone who went to prison. Yeah. Come out here, want to chat. And I'm thinking, oh, shit. And I'm thinking, I boxed as a kid, but I didn't box. When I say I boxed, I joined a boxing gym to get off the streets and get out of trouble. That didn't work, did it? Right. And I was really fit and I learnt to box. So I'm thinking to myself, if he hits me, I could probably hit him back, but I'm not going to hit him hard. And you're walking towards this place. And we sat down, and then I found out he was a friend of mine from outside. Has messaged him out and said, keep an eye out. I mean, they give me canteen, everything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's
and then
nice.
I went back in the dorm, like, who do you know? He's been in here years, blah. And I said, I don't know. You just know someone outside. And I played quite because of our case was a massive conspiracy, and people didn't know each other. We got arrested with each other, and I found out about a couple of weeks in it was an undercover drug bust. When people say what you're in for, you should say drug dealing, mate. So you think I haven't got a fucking clue who I'm talking to, what I'm doing. You're hearing.
Do you think if you said I'm a serial killer, do you think that would have been better? Would people left you alone?
I don't know. We got cat aid.
Right. Wow.
So I saying that I had long hair, tucking it behind my ears, thinking, make me look vulnerable in court, and did it. Fuck. And
you know what you needed? You needed them Harry Potter glasses.
Yeah. Like, hello. But when we got cat aid, after it's a bit of a long story. I put in, it's like a bit of a shit side of the story. I put in to go to a funeral, and they wouldn't let me go. But we got cat aid. I got cat aid off of the back of that because they looked into me going to a funeral, and then and they realised what I got arrested for in Wormwood Scrubs, and it's a bee cat. And they come to my cell and they said, blah, 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 and you've been cat aid. And I'm like, what is that? And I've asked this guy with a scar who's been in years, I said, what's that? He said, Frank, to be honest, I thought you would be cat aid because he's quite a big, and they say you got funds to break out of prison. And then I got moved to Belmarsh. And when you're in Belmarsh, there's a card on your door and there's a fucking A on it. So like you said, people leave you alone a little bit, thinking, what's he cat A for? And they look at me and they think, well, what is he cat A for? They don't straight away think cat A drugs because you've got money to break out. They think probably what you thought. He might look nice and innocent, but he might have fucking killed his whole family.
What are you in for? Killing people.
Yeah, killing nosy people. Yeah,
killing people that ask me silly questions.
Yeah, and because I met a Filipino guy later on in my sentence in a DCAT, and when the screws come and wrapped him up and moved him out, I asked a screw earlier because I was working in the gym. I said, why did 7 of you come and wrap him up? He said, Frank, he done a gangland thing because he was a Filipino or something, and he got a family, tied them up and set fire to them, tortured them, set fire to the house. And he was ordered to do that because of his father back in Philippines or something, was some crime boss. He was sent over from there to do it. He cooked a lovely food though.
Yeah.
Mad, didn't he, again? This fucking serial killer to cook your dinner.
Do you know what's mad? Like Filipinos and Thai. Yeah. My friend went to Thailand doing one of them kickboxing camps. Yeah. He used to be and he used to be like double Andy. And he went out there and he said, you get in the ring with they're like skinny little kids. Yeah. And he goes, they kick at you.
Elbow you in the face.
He goes, you hit them as hard as you can. They just stand and laugh at you. And he said, they're just like different gravy. You know?
I think, do you know, in our country, I went on to run in Thailand. It's terrible. And in our country, do you know, you're given a football or now you're given a rugby. I think out there, they just like start fighting, didn't they? In certain bits of Thailand.
And you're one. Punch that tree.
Yeah, punch.
Dada.
Yeah. We call that palm tree. What's it? Kickboxer. And and I think that's their national sport. I don't know. But they're tough. He said to me, when you get out of prison, you come to the Philippines and you meet my father. We got hotels and everything. Yeah.
And if you find me about, I'm going to set fire to you.
Yeah. Imagine. And but I went on the run in Thailand. That was I know it's probably a nice country, but it's fucking horrific.
So before we get into actually your story, Frank, because obviously it's a great story. You've got the book. But going back to Banged Up just quickly, just to wrap up on that bit. Yeah. Do you think it should have been over a longer period of time? Or do you think 2 weeks? I'm not talking about for you guys because you've already done it. But for the actual celebrities, do you think it should have been maybe over 4 weeks? Yeah. So it actually give them a whole month? Because it must.
I think it would have been a lot of money for it, for the, probably financially they wouldn't have done it. But I think it kicked in a little bit, missing their family and the loneliness and that. But I think 2 weeks. In your head, I go on holiday for 2 weeks. Just think, it's a holiday. But if someone said a month, that's when the cracks would start appearing.
Yeah, that's
even with some of the prisoners.
When I saw the 4 episodes, I didn't know what period of time it was shot over.
Yeah,
but I thought in my head it's got to have been over 4 weeks. The last celebrity
was only a week.
Wow,
they didn't all come in on the first day. Harvey, the pop star, he came in on the first. He was the first one in.
Wow, so we got.
But there were some prisoners who, he had that first kid in effect, didn't he? Thinking, him, I can't wait for the next one to come in and leave me alone. So he was a veteran by the time the 5th one come in. But some of the prisoners couldn't hack it, Terry.
Right, just because it was bringing back the trauma of being incarcerated.
And a lot of bad shit happened to everyone. Like, I don't care who, you'll probably speak to more prisoners. You'll get more in depth with prisoners than I probably have. But every prisoner had a shit time in prison. Something bad's happened. Yeah. Or something bad's happened outside, which caused them to fucking have a horrific time in prison. So, that trauma of going in, because everyone was a bit pissed off with the show, to be honest, a little bit. It's because I said, you know, you've set the public perception back 20 years. They all think we're fucking scumbags and idiots again.
Got it. Because of the bullying and
the
because
bullying
of
and all that. And there was an old guy in there. You could try and get him on here. David Nedden, his name is. He broke out of. He's done Lad Bible. He broke out of a Thai prison, maximum security prison, and he was flying drugs around in private jets in the 70s.
Wow.
He's an old Australian bloke, but he's got a posh English accent. Look him up, and he might come in here.
What's his name?
David Neven or Nevin.
Nevin, right? Okay.
Rich knows him really well, so
Yeah,
maybe get Rich.
yeah.
I'll speak to Rich when I get out.
Amazing, thanks.
And he is a really posh old bloke. Tell a story like he should do a bedtime stories. That's how good his voice is. Not maybe crime ones, but his story. And they did not give him a light of day. Wow. And me and Rich as well. We had a little bit. I was out and about on the wing fucking about, so I was in that. But they didn't. They showed Terry quite a lot because he was like. He would become like, not the matriarch, that's a woman, isn't it? He'd become like the statesman of the thing.
Got it.
But we sort of pushed for that, you know, crime's shit. And really, you know, you're getting involved in crime, shit's going to happen to you.
Do you know what? There's a couple of people that have been on this podcast that have said they regretted doing the crimes, but they haven't, if they could go back, they wouldn't change it because it's kind of made them who they are.
Yeah, that's a hard.
And they're grateful for the experience. And you know, some people have got caught and they've actually said, I'm grateful that I got caught then because if I hadn't done it, it would have been a lot worse.
Terry,
and I'd have got a lot more birds.
I'm all of them because I was young, late teens, early 20s, going into pubs and clubs in Loughton, and you know what Loughton and Epping's like, and all big cat, and I'm thinking, I want to be like that. Looked up to these people. Yeah. And then when you get in when you're getting deep with it, you start thinking to yourself, no, these people are actually assholes. When you realise later on,
look at the Essex boys, you know, and it's weird because when you actually look at that period of time, you know, it was like the 90s, and you know, after they got killed, obviously then Ricky Percival, and then a new wave of people come in, and you know, for some reason, whatever, I think people have always aspired to be like the Essex boys, but yeah, eating drugs, doing this, doing that.
Yeah, I think the gangster it's glorified a little bit, but you know, like you've made God knows how many things about it. You got to put the shit in as well to you know, to make everyone realise. But you've got The Godfather. What an amazing book, series, films. And I've heard years ago some people, you know, I can see. How can I explain that? Sound like a dickhead. They don't make films about normal people.
Got it.
Do you know what I mean? So as a young kid, for me, I watched a Craze film. Do you remember the Kemp Brothers?
Yeah.
And I used to watch that. And my mum even told me, stop watching that film. And I was watching it thinking, God, that's good. And it wasn't the violence with me. I don't know. Right. I don't know what it was.
I think lots of people...
We wasn't very rich, so it might have been the money.
It's the romance. I think what it is, it's the romance.
Yeah. They get the girl.
Lots of people like the fact that... Because most people in life, right... are searching for something, whether it's respect, whether it's acclaim, whether it's you know, love, approval, affirmation, whatever it is, or they want to get success. And if you looked at a mafia boss, or you looked at a gangster or whatever, they wear nice clothes, driving nice cars,
they've got the respect,
they've got the girls, they've got the jewelry, they've got the money, they've got the house, they've got everything, right? And everyone's respecting them. So you look at that and go, wow, you know, I'd love to have that. But then when you've got that, you know, all the ones that have been on a high level that we've spoken to have all said the same thing. They've all said every day, you know, that law enforcement are trying to arrest you. Every day you got to deal with these dogs that are trying to even nick your stuff. People don't realise what they got to do to get to that.
Absolutely. I never got to that.
You're staying there as well, and you've got all the you got informants.
Your best friends are stabbing you in the back.
Well, you've got informants. You've got law enforcement. Yeah. You've got people, other firms. So literally
partners having you over. There's a book I can't remember what it is. I should have remembered. There's a book that's banned here, and it talks about the police used to go, and if me and you were selling drugs to each other, I'll sell you the drugs, and the police would go and nick the drugs off you to make it look like I'd done it, nick them back.
Wow.
And to start wars, because they said in wars they can, people start slipping, and that's when they arrest them.
Wow.
But this book's banned.
I've never even known that, but I'd love to read that.
I'll message you it, because a friend of mine was going to buy it, and it got banned in this country, and it's something in America now. But I don't know whether somebody had over a massive crime family in England and they fucked off to Colombia or America and they stayed there, Miami. I remember the book and
Look, the law enforcement is like with them Encro chat phones, right? Everyone was speaking on them, thinking that they've
got their own satellite, and it was the FBI that set it up.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but I suspect, like, if I was in law enforcement and someone said to me, "How do we catch these criminals?" I would say, "Well, look, if we invented this device which we could tell everybody was secure,
got an informer to get
and then set up a company as a front, let them all get the phones, let them all talk freely on it, let them just think that they got anonymity for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then we nick them all." Do you know what I mean? It's actually genius.
Trust that phone.
Genius. It's genius, right? And that's what I would, if I was in law enforcement, I would have done that, because I'd be thinking, how do we get these guys? Because if you watch even the old mob films, like in the 80s, you know, don't talk on the phone, don't do this, don't do that. So you know, it was harder for law enforcement, if people followed the rules, to actually get them to incriminate themselves. So if they invented this device where people could talk on it, but the thing is with technology, if they didn't do that and they somehow hacked into it, which they said the French did, and put this patch up and then infect all the phones with this virus so that they could actually intercept all the calls and the texts. I mean, you know, we've had a King's Counsel on here, we've had barristers, we've had lawyers, we've had law enforcement people, and they've all actually said the same thing. They've said, you know, when we got that access, like, how do you defend that when someone sends a text message or a voice note saying, kill that person or get me 10 keys? You can't say, well, I was talking about flour.
True.
Or I didn't mean kill him, I meant tickle him. You know, it was just a code word for tickling him.
Yeah. I tickled my wife, I tickled my ex-missus. And they, it's funny you saying that, because they've got unlimited funds, haven't they? And criminals haven't. But say, for instance, like me coming into the crime world, I didn't have a dad who was in crime.
Yeah.
He didn't have a dad who was in crime. So it wasn't passed down. But these police have got 100 years passed down of intelligence. This is what to do. Do you know what I think? Do you know what I mean?
And also, you know, you think there's thousands of them, right, that are just looking for criminals, and there's only you doing what you're doing. So you got to keep getting lucky, whereas they only get lucky once.
They're an army, and you've got you and your little gang are making, you know, could be making $1 million, you know, £100,000 a week, £1 million a week. You could be making serious money, which we all know, but it ain't enough to compete against an army with satellites from NASA.
Even if you made £1 million a week, people would go, "Oh my God, think what I could do with that money. Oh, it's such a lot of money." But the issue is, when you get caught, you lose the money. I
don't know anyone who's come out of prison with money.
No.
I met a guy in prison who, when he got arrested, he had £4 million cash around him, and the police took it.
Yeah.
£4 million cash. They take your house, you take your car. And now with the confiscations changed when I went to prison. Say, for instance, you had a straight business for 20 years and they nick you, and you go, "I've had that straight business for 20 years. They go, "The only reason you've had that straight business for 20 years is because you're committing crime and you got money from that. So take it all now." Where years ago, if you proved you had a straight business for 20 years, you can keep that. But that's just money crimes. You know, you can kill someone and your business can keep running.
I think obviously they brought that in. I mean, the Americans did it, didn't they? That sort of RICO.
We follow America, don't we?
Yeah, and I think
even with the prison system, everything.
And I think, look, if you're, you know, profiteering from doing something illegal, whether it's selling drugs or whatever, you know, it's like if they didn't do that, you know, because you know, if you just went to jail for 6 months or a year or 2 years and come out and that was it, then it encourages people to do it. Whereas if people go every single person that I've either interviewed on the podcast, or I've met in real life, or I've read a book, or I've met through somebody, and because I make films, lots of people come to me going, "I've got a book, I've got a story." So we get plugged into so many people that want to do films and TV shows and different things. And the thing that they've all got in common, if they have got caught, and most of them have, because that's otherwise they wouldn't be writing books, right? None of them have got any money. None of they've lost everything. And you sort of think, so you've committed crimes. You've not profited from it. You've had a short-term window of having a good time. You've now got nothing.
And it's a real short-term.
You spent 10, 20, 30 years in jail. Was it worth it? you know, and what I've found refreshing doing this podcast is talking to people that have been through it, and then they've applied what they were doing on the street to business. So instead of them, so a guy said to me the other day, which I thought was genius. He said, when I was selling drugs, he said I was going to a supplier, I was getting drugs, I was selling drugs. People would ask for things on tick, and then I have to chase them for the money.
Make sure you're on time, and then all of a sudden you're doing a business.
I set up a shop, right, a food shop. So I'm buying products, right? I'm making it, I'm selling it, but you have to pay for it. I'm not giving it to you on tick, right?
Yeah.
So he said, I'm always getting paid, and he's made a really good business out of it. And he said, he said, I wish I'd have actually done this rather than crime. And I think the problem with lots of people is they don't have anybody around them saying, do not do this. You can do this legally. And he said, I was making more money out of selling chicken than fucking coke. And then you sort of go, I mean, obviously if you're doing, 80 million, it's different. But most people don't ever get to that level. It's small stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's a grand here, 500 quid there. It's just sort of money which you go, well, that's a lot of money. But if you get caught with it and you get 5 years in jail, it's not worth a grand, is it?
No, it's not. No, this is the thing. And I was just talking to my brother outside about it. I'm pushing for, I've got loads of things, not loads of things in the pipeline. I'm pushing for, getting schools, the naughty kids. Some of them have got like amazing qualities, but they just get pushed to the back. Yeah. And I've just outside on the phone talking to my brother about it, and he was saying when we was younger, nothing against our parents, but we just had nobody business around you, nobody. Yeah. And I know a businessman now who's got he's had a lorry business for like 50 odd years. He said, I went to school, Frank, everybody's parents were business owners. So in my head, I was just told, I'm just going to get a business. Right. It's like, it just happens. And you get the odd person like Alan Sugar and I don't know, Richard Branson who step out of that circle, but they need that. The world needs that, But you're right. I think even if I went back all that time, and I think my talent was being good with people and people liking me and me being honest, and I don't know, I could talk shit probably for hours, but
it's a good quality to have. I've got that as well.
Yeah. But how'd you make any money out of it? And I wasn't.
Podcast.
Yeah. I wasn't. And or write a book. Yeah. And I was never told. At school everyone liked me. I was a popular kid, but I was never told anything. You'd be great at this. You'd be great at it. I loved drama at school. I loved that. And the drama teacher was like, they used to push me into it because they said you're really good. Yeah. And funny enough, I'll tell you later on, a drama teacher just got back from school, and I was a little shit at school. I wasn't a horrible kid. Like all the teachers signed my shirt, and some of them cried when I left. But I was just a naughty kid, right. Like hyperactive, climbing about. And quickly, so I haven't got to bring it up later. So she's contacted me, and the head of drama she is, and she knew all my family went to our school in St John's. She's contacted me after reading my book saying, Frank, your book's amazing. She said it made me cry, everything. She said it's got everything, and there's no bitterness, and it's really it's not a showy offy crime story book. It's about this. If you get involved in crime, this is what happens. Yeah, it fucks your life up really. Yeah, and you just got to be strong enough to not let it fuck you up inside, I think. Anyway, and she spoke to that head of drama who was before her, and he wrote a play called A Too Much Punch for Judy. And it's been played. It's a drink driving thing with this girl, true story, girl killed her friend. It's been played 6,000 times all around the world. He's written another one. He wants to write my book and my life into a play. Amazing. And put it in schools and do all that. And I'm sort of talking with her at the moment about it, but we're trying to, I was going to ask you later, we're trying to get something, I've contacted all the MPs and all that, and my old school want me to go and talk there. Yeah. There's some sort of funding you can get to get it going because it's in the arts and things. And I think my MP said she's going to pass me on to the educational. Yeah. Because it's not a lot. It's the guy the guy's fee to write the script and turn it into a play. It's his fee, and then he's done it 3 times, 4 times before. So he says he can do the rest. But I've got to talk to him anyway. Yeah. I mean, I've never had any dealings with that, but I think with a lot of these things, because it's for the arts and because it's educational, I'm pretty sure there would be some sort of government grant all over the schools. But hopefully, touch wood, that could be
but that could be good. I mean, I think one of the things I was going to say was, I think when people get involved in crime, they don't think they're going to get caught.
No, I
So
sort of knew I was. I used to say to a mate of mine who was doing it with, I say, you know, we're going to get caught one day. But that's getting caught is.
But I think
it's another part of your life you don't even know.
But
So
I
you
think
don't see it coming.
But see everybody that I've ever met, and interviewed, right, and talked about this. They always said, I never thought I was going to get caught because I always thought I was going to get in, I was going to get out. Only the idiots get caught, right? So nobody goes into it going, I'm going to get caught and go to jail. Nobody does crime thinking that, because if they did,
thought
they
I was
wouldn't
going
do
to
it.
retire at 30. I got out of prison at 30. Honestly, got in it, and I got in it like at a young. I was dabbling in it in late teens, and then I had my son.
I mean,
I was 20.
Why don't we go, because obviously we've talked a lot about the book and about
Other stuff.
about
Go on.
the show. But if you actually went back, you said obviously when you was at school, you was popular, but you was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Popular pain in the ass. That's a good one.
But when you actually left school, what did you do? I mean, did you?
Do you know what? I left school, and I was around men in pubs and clubs, even at young age. Even when I was at school, I was playing men's football at 14 down the end of my road. From a council family, parents split up, nothing out of the normal, because everyone in my circle, no one's parents were together.
Yeah.
And a little social club down the end of the road, which was great. Everyone went there.
Yeah.
And I used to dream of playing for this football team. And I started training with them at like 13, 14. And they thought, this kid can actually play football.
Yeah.
I wasn't fantastic, but I was just good.
Yeah.
Good and average. And I started playing men's football at 14. So that matured me a bit. Started going into pubs afterwards, looking up to all the blokes who were laughing about not going to work on a Monday. And I was thinking, what's all that about? And we had no money. We wasn't poor as in like the dirty family and all that. My mum was always clean, but we had no money. And so holidays, having anything good, there was no, my mum, I think she bought us a swimming pool that the whole street played in, but she knocked the catalogue for it. So I was from that, which, that the community was great where we was.
Yeah.
And everyone was in the same boat. So it was a brilliant upbringing, but I was one of 6. And as you got kids, didn't you, Terry?
Yeah.
So as you know, when if you've got 6 kids, it's strained on your finances. Yeah. So, my parents split up and we had nothing because there was 6 of us, but what a great life I had as a young kid, because we were feral. Yeah. Once we left that back door, we were out doing what we wanted.
I mean that's one of my sort of like gripes, without sounding like a moany old man. I've always paid for my children, and I only had children because I thought I can actually provide for them. Yeah. And obviously there's a lot of people that don't
I've had 2 children.
They literally just knock out
a
load of kids knowing that they're going to get handouts and knowing that they're going to get a free house.
Yeah.
And play the system. And I honestly think, right, I think everybody has the right to have children. I don't think anybody, if you want to have kids, it's amazing. Yeah. But obviously, if you can't afford to have the kids, you're bringing them up with it's the wrong thing, because they're going to go without. Yeah. And I think with children, like, they're very impressionable at a young age. And I think sometimes if they do have hardships when they grow up, they can go into the wrong way of life. Whereas if
you've got no money, you're in an area where crime is rife. You're right. And if there's I was one of 4 boys, so 4 brothers, all little like Herberts. You start, But yeah, you're right. Someone could come in here and say, I've had 6 children, and my 6th son got a degree and he's gone and been a lawyer. Well, that's one in what? 1 in a million. Yeah. But you're right. We was one of 6, and we had no money. My dad had a normal job. My mum's at home. She's knocking so many kids out. And when they split up, we had nothing. And maybe it's not an insecurity, so I can't blame anyone, but maybe us having no money as a kids made me think, I wasn't educated, so I think I could do what he's doing.
But you're influenced, like what you said. You're playing football. You're around these guys. You're hearing them saying, "I'm not going to work Monday. I'm doing this. I'm doing that." Yeah. And you reach Prick up and you go, "Well, what's that?"
And the Jack the lads are normally the better characters in there, aren't they? They have a laugh and a joke in the pub. The ones that everyone.
The guy sitting in the corner with the glasses, and the side parting, drinking a water.
Yeah. You only learn as you get older.
You don't look at him and go, I want to be like that guy.
No, you don't want to be like, you're right. You don't want to be like that guy when you're young. You only realise when you're older that guy, he's probably really intelligent and he could teach you loads, but you don't see that when you're young. Absolutely. And nobody, like, my son's 19 now and I'm on him like you wouldn't believe. And I probably am too tough on him, but it's because was a teenager, and I went down that wrong path because I had nobody on me.
Well,
My dad didn't live near us, so you need to be on kids every day.
Yeah. I mean, I had a similar thing on the estate, and everybody on the estate was committing crimes. You know, people were, burglary was rife. The street robberies weren't really a
Even
thing
down
back
to
then.
what, nicking meat out the shop and selling it because no one's got the money, cheap meat.
Well, there used to be
survival skills.
There was a few people, I don't know what they call them, grifters or whatever, and they would literally go in the estate, and if you knew them, you'd say, oh, can you get me a pair of jeans and a shirt? And it was stupid shit like from Burton's or Top Man. It wasn't like, Gucci or Versace, but or I want a coat, get me, or a pair of trainers or whatever. And they would either go out with the cards and then, have the moody cards. Because back then you'd have the card and it used to just go in a machine. They used to go like that and sign a bit of paper. So obviously credit card fraud back then was so easy, right? If you could get a card and, I don't know if they had them without signatures on or whether they actually signed them, but people actually had these cards, and then other people would go, what do you want? And you give them a shopping list and they go out in shops and nick it. And then you come back and they'd sell it to you for half the price. So that was a thing, but stealing cars was the thing. And then you start seeing people doing drugs and selling drugs. So all of that's going on around you. So it's very easy if you wanted to go.
You're not going to be a fucking doctor, are you?
No, but if you're sat there and you're going, and you go and get a job.
And then mate, goes, you want to come and help me and I'll give you 20 quid. In your head, that's a job. That's a living. Like I used to say to my mates when I was like going out selling drugs or whatever, I'm going to work. And they go, oh, you ain't going to work. But I wasn't brought up in an estate. I was brought up in a road where everyone owns their houses now, but it was council road. And like people would laugh, like, watch this and laugh. Oh, he's from a little road in Epping. It's not a council estate. So I didn't have that around me, that council estate, in the way of like, he's nicking this, nicking cars. Everyone was just in the same, every bloke had a job. All the wives stayed at home, but it wasn't a great job. My dad worked in a factory, another one. Right. No one had their own businesses. So we wasn't middle class. We was just getting by. Yeah. And when our parents split up, that's when we turned into having no money, and we ended up losing our house. So we had to move out of the house when I was it was about 16. Yeah. We lost our house and I had to move out and go and live. I had to live on mate's sofa for a little while, and then had to go. I lived with a bloke that I worked with.
But I think that those opportunities to get involved, and obviously, easy, and whereas if like you said, there was a message at the schools, and I'm not talking about I think if all the schools adopted it, because I think what kids need to be told is they need to be told they can achieve anything they want. Yeah, they've got to work for it. No shortcuts. Yeah, and look, if you want to, if you're walking around and you see people doing this stuff, you think that's a good idea. If you do it, these are the risks. Yeah, if you want to piss away 10 years of your life sitting in a fucking cell, crack on. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then kids would be going, wow, I don't really want to do that. But I think they're not educated. They're obviously told, don't steal, don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah, but that's by a teacher that they don't really respect. They can't relate to.
No, they need somebody like yourself, somebody who's been through it, that they can relate to and go, actually, I'm going to listen to you because you're not a teacher. Yeah. And you're just coming there saying, listen, I was one of the lads, just like you. One of the girls.
I wasn't no one special because I got involved in an £80 million thing. It just snowballs.
Because also the girls as well. Because what also happens with a lot of the girls is the guys get them doing stuff.
Yeah, which do you know what I found out? Someone messaged me a little while ago after a podcast and said, they're fostering a daughter, and I made my foster daughter watch your podcast because it's amazing. Because my story pretty much is, I had a normal upbringing, but what happened to me whilst I was in prison and everything that happens, it's fucking horrific, really. Yeah. And you think to yourself, if that's what you want, because that's what will happen, get involved in crime. But if you don't want that, you can. But like you say, no one's given them the opportunity. I could go in a school, Terry, and do a big talk about my story, and then walk away, and then the kid's still in crime. No one's given them the. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of it at the moment.
They need that. What they should do is they give people books at schools, right?
Yeah, they need.
So they should give them like Shoe Dog, which is about the Nike story. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They should give them books about business. Yeah. Right. They should be saying to kids, you might not be academic. You might not be,
Yeah.
or you might be academic,
Yeah.
right? So you might be, you might not be. But going to college, going to university,
Yeah.
if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, great. But if you don't, and you want to actually do something, you know, look, a friend of mine is Charlie Mullins, right? Who set up Pimlico Plumbers.
Mm.
He was a plumber, right?
Yeah.
And he decided, actually, I'm going to do an upper class plumbing service where all the guys wear a uniform, everyone's clean and tidy, and you know you get him around your house, and they do a good job. And he built that business, and he sold it for 130 million.
Yeah.
Right.
He
And
had the
was just
foresight to do it.
He was just a plumber from South London.
Yeah.
But he was, but when you hear a story like that, if you meet him, you go, oh, it's all right for him. You know, he's just sold his business for 130 million. But he's worked 50 years building his business, right?
But we have got a problem now where they want it overnight. I do think there's that massive problem.
Well, social media's giving everyone like ADHD in it. It's like you've got to have it, you have it now. Yeah. And everybody's living their best life. But in reality, you know, there's work and there's failure. There's
people
success.
only get noticed when they're at the top.
Absolutely.
So people on social media, all these people are watching these people when they're at the top and they're thinking, you know, even you, Terry, like they're thinking, cool, he's got a great podcast. Yeah, I'll do that. But they don't realise you've been grafting your bollocks off for 30 years to get here. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, right, you know, this podcast started over a conversation.
Yeah.
I've never hosted a podcast before, you know, and when I actually looked at it and I thought about all the people I know and all the people that I don't know, but that I could get to, I just thought, well, actually, this could actually be really interesting and fun. And, you know, but again, I could have talked myself out of it. I could have gone, actually, I'm not a presenter. I'm not going to do that. But I just had to go. And it's worked out. But the thing is, it might not have worked out. And, you know, you post, I don't know how many, I think we're currently in season 2 now as we're filming this.
Yeah.
And you know, you release something and you go, this is going to be an amazing episode, and then you get sort of 40,000 views. Then you do another one, which you go, I think this is going to be a good one, but I don't know how good it'll be. Then it does hundreds of thousands. So there's no rhyme or reason why things catch and why things don't catch. So what everybody I know who's and when I say he's good at this, I mean that's been doing it for like 10, 20 years. Because I've asked people, you know, and what I found about the podcast world, which is different to the film world and different to other businesses, is when you talk to people that have cracked it, they're quite happy to share the love. They say, look, you know, it's about consistency. It's about
getting up every morning.
Just because you do a great episode and it doesn't do hundreds of thousands of views and break the internet or millions of views, you know, it doesn't matter. You just have to do another one and do it. And it reminds me of business. Because, you know, you can do something and put your heart and soul into it and go, this is going to be great. And it's not. And then you go to yourself, fucking hell, you know, I spent years doing this, and it's just life.
Funny you should say, I that took me a year. I was waking up at 4 a.m. and I was writing before I went to work at 5. And then when I was getting home, I was writing the whole time. Even when it was all done, my missus said, like, this has been a massive toll on you and you don't even realise it. And I'd done the podcast and I'd done that program that year as well. I'd done loads last year and I paid a guy to edit it. So I wrote it and he edited it. And I'm like, not seriously, it's not going to affect me financially, but I'm in minus. Like that probably would never pay.
Yeah.
But then I was talking to my drama teacher the other day. I said, imagine we had a school reunion and they said, anyone here got a book out? And I put my hand up. The whole school would laugh because I couldn't spell. I was dyslexic. Right. But for me, I was like, I'm really proud of that.
You're the J.K. Rowling of Buckhurst Hill.
Yeah, J.K. fucking Rowling. Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? But yeah, so I've not sold as many copies to even pay for it as yet. But you know, it's something to be proud of. And
see, the thing is, people always assume, right? If you write a book, or if you make a film, or if you do business, or if you open up a business and you do a franchise, people automatically go, oh, he's making millions. Oh, that's been whatever.
People said it with me, Terry. They said, oh, you bought a book out, podcast, you've been on that program, but you're a minute. I said, no, I'm not. It's not even the program cover your wages. They don't realise.
But the thing is, but it's that thing. That book, right, could have cost you $5 grand, 10 grand, whatever it cost you, right? And you might have had $3 grand back, right? Or you might have had all your money back And you might be sitting there going, I've done all that work and I've just got my money back, or I've lost a bit, right? And most people go, what a fucking waste of time. But the thing is, you don't know what you're going to get from that book.
I think it's the little things.
So you've got to put, it's about having hundreds and hundreds. It's not a few. You've got to keep going. And every time you're doing something, whether it's a success, whether it's a failure, whether it's, break even, it's literally about sowing seeds. And then, all of the things I've done in my life have come either out of adversity or out of success, right? And, things that you think, well, that's not worked out, then something a year later, it could be 3 years later.
From that,
something comes out and you go, wow,
this is
if
what
I
I
had done
think.
that.
I feel like at the moment, this is the situation I'm in at the moment in my life. All the little things I've done, nothing, I've not earned no loads of money out of it, nothing, but all the little things I've done is building up to the main event. Yeah. What that main event is, I ain't got a clue. I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's around. I sat at work and got a phone call. I got a text message on Instagram about that TV show that we was in. Yeah. And I thought it'd be great. And they covered my wages. And no one's made loads of money out of it, but you don't know what comes from that.
Absolutely.
And you just don't know. Even the book, I'm probably a couple of grand in the minus for that at the moment. But I've heard about I basically watched that show, and that's how I found out about you. Yeah.
I would have probably found out about you another way. Through Rich, you know what I mean? So something.
Well, Terry would have hounded you.
Yeah, but somebody somewhere would have gone, oh, you should speak to Frank, right?
Yeah.
Talk to Frank.
Talk to Frank, yeah.
But that show connected us, and now you're on this, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny how the world works.
Like you said, sowing the seeds.
But what I think the audience would be really interested in, Frank, is obviously, you've obviously got into this, group of people where you're sort of aspiring to these sort of, Jack Lad, unsavoury characters.
Yeah.
But when did you actually, how old was you when you actually sort of first got into sort of the drugs game?
I was probably running gear, not really knowing about it, but knowing about it, knowing how serious it was, probably late teens.
Was it because you was taking it, or was it just?
No, I've never really took it. I've took it. I've took I'll probably count on one hand.
Right.
But it's, I'm not a big drinker because I can't handle the hangovers. But in the pub, you're passing stuff about. Then you're holding doors for someone, and someone's think, hold that door, and then I think I held the door when I was really young. Someone's getting beaten up, and I'm like, oh Jesus, and then it sort of snowballs, and then you go to a nightclub when you're a little bit older, and they're like, oh, well, I know him from football when he was younger. He's all right, him.
Yeah.
And then you're drinking, and I was probably 16, 17, not queuing at nightclubs, only local in Epping and that, not queuing at Arlo, not queuing at nightclubs. And getting drinks whenever I want, and the doorman looking after you at 17 years old, and you're thinking to yourself, I mean, this is a good life.
I am the man.
Yeah, I'm a midget. And you're thinking, and all us and my mates from Epping, our little group, we were all happy-go-lucky, and we all had a laugh, which you all are at teenagers, and we were, pulling girls, doing what we wanted, and you start thinking, oh, invincible, here we are. And then I met a girl, and then a year or a year and a half in, she got pregnant. And then I thought, right, shit, I need to stop working the odd maintenance job for people and selling gear the weekend and doing this for someone, earning a couple of £100 a week. And I thought, right, I need a job. And she put the pressure on saying, you need to get a job. And then one of my mates,
you got responsibilities now.
Yeah. And we didn't have a house or anything. We was just living separately. And then one of my mates, lucky enough, she had her own flat because she was with someone before. So, when my son was born, we moved in together in her flat, and we sold that and moved on to a house afterwards. But so I got into scaffolding, and I liked working hard. And again, it's a bit of a Jack the Lad trade.
That's
and I was
a hard
outdoors.
job as well. I mean, you're super fit doing that.
Yeah, well, it's the first month I'm only little now, but when I was little then, I was like, oh. Going home, my shoulder. And for the first month or two, it's hard graft. But I used to see little blokes who are littler than me, and they're doing everything. And I think I can do it if he can do it. And it's that thing that counsellor state, or my mum's, struggling with 6 kids. You the lights at the end of the tunnel. Keep going, don't. Yeah. And I feel like I've done that all my life. Yeah. When the shit is a fan, just keep going, stay alive, keep going. Wake up every morning, not do the right things. I've done terrible bad things like selling drugs and all that stuff, but be nice to people. And I'm thinking, right, keep going. And so, I had my son. I was in scaffolding and I was still skint. I was earning £60 a day labouring, and I'm having to get into London, and I'm pushing people to get through the train thing, and I'm eating sugar. You know, I don't ever want to feel sorry for me because I had a fucking job, but there was no like threat there.
Yeah.
And I'm eating sugar to try and get some energy, but our bills are like £1,500 a month,
So
and
you
I was earning
basically-
£60 a day.
How old was you then?
I was 19.
And you had a sugar addiction.
Yeah, Tate
Did
and
you
Lyle.
talk to Frank about your sugar addiction?
I used to break into Tate and Lyle of a night. And I used to go to Benji's. Remember Benji's?
Yeah, of course.
So I used to go there at lunchtime and eat loads of sachets of sugar so I had some energy because I had a little packed lunch to go back and last the afternoon at work. And I was weak, but I got stronger, and then I couldn't afford a fry up in the morning with the lads. So I used to turn up, I'd eat a sandwich and I'd make lunches. And then, you know, I started scaffolding, and then I said I had another kid. You know, me and my partner, we wasn't really getting on for years, but we had our daughter Isabella.
So you got two?
Two kids,
Right,
yeah. I've got a
amazing.
son, Louis, who's lived with me for last God knows how many years. He's got a job now. He's got a good job, and he's driving. And my daughter's 16. She lives with her mum, and we all live quite close. I'm close to my daughter and my son, and we had our daughter, and it just, do you know, like, we started wanting a holiday every year, and we sort of couldn't. And then I started thinking to myself, and I remember the time, I'll say this all the time, I was in Tesco's and I had a trolley full of blue striped food, and I was pushing it towards a thing, and the blue striped food, everyone thinks, yeah, it was great, it was cheap food. But I don't know whether it was just me being insecure. It's my insecurities, all of this. I'm not blaming it on anyone. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me, but you got a trolley full of blue striped food. People are looking at you thinking, oh, look at them pikes with blue striped food. And it was the Tesco
That's
value.
the value
wasn't it?
one, yeah.
And I remember standing, I said
I
to
have
my...
partaked in that as well. You know? I mean,
but everyone's
you know,
had a go. But
yeah,
now they
absolutely.
package it better so you don't feel so ashamed at the counter, I think.
Right.
I think that's got to be something to do with it.
Right.
And I remember being there, and I said to my kids, Mum, I can't do this anymore. So what do you mean? I said, I cannot do this anymore. Like, working my nuts off, and we're spending our last 30 quid on food. I'm pushing, and it was like struggling for like a year, 2 years, and just paying the bills. And I said to her, I'm gonna make a phone call, and I'm gonna start serving up. She's like, because I knew people that were still doing it from before. So I dabbled a little bit in my late teens, and then stopped when I had a kid.
So really, because of the pressure of life, I suppose, and the cost of having the kids,
Yeah. And
that
I
sort of
felt
drove
like-
you into doing something you probably wouldn't have done if you'd have had a bit more money.
Yeah, but you know, I could have worked more, but I worked in 6 days a week, and I was labouring. You know, tell you, if I stayed in a job and stacked shelves, we bought a house in the end.
Yeah.
On my scaffolding money, and she was working. If I stayed in that job, didn't get involved in crime, so I come out of prison with nothing, and I was struggling for years, and then like later in life, recently, I was out of work for 16 months, and ended up having nothing again. It was like, but that house that I bought with my kid's mum, we would have split up. Don't get me wrong. I think that was inedible because we were too young, and that house worth 400 grand, and my mortgage would need to be paid off. So I'd be sitting in there. And whether you're good in business or not, imagine having 400 grand in your pocket, because that's how much I'd have now. I'd have a house for 400 grand, and I could turn around and go, start my own scaffold business up if I wanted. I could sell it all and can go and live in a camper van for the rest of my life. There's so many opportunities that would have got, and I'm trying to get my son there, and I want to get him to buy a
that
place.
mindset, yeah.
But he's more switched on than I was at his age, and but going back to that, and it was, I said to my kids, Mum, I'm gonna. So I made one phone call, and bang, I was back in it. And I was.
So was you still scaffolding as well?
Yeah, still scaffolding. So I was scaffolding, and I ticked a bit of gear, and I turned it into wraps. So I was coming home from work scaffolding, going out delivering wraps.
Was you serving up all the scaffolders? Were they all like what?
Yeah, a couple of lads at work. Yeah. Not at work.
I can imagine all like just frying it all up. Down.
Yeah, Quite, these jobs are getting done quick. No, my boss sort of found out because I was selling to one bloke, and he put it on me and said, "Listen, I find out you're doing it at work, you're sacked," sort of thing. And it was fair enough.
Yeah.
And I said, "Listen, I do it. I do it, but it's I sell it to lads on a Friday night, and which is his business, fair enough." And so yeah, I'd done that, and then I split up with the kid's mum, and then I was still scaffolding, still doing that, and I wouldn't say I had some mental breakdown or everything, but I just thought, F this, I'm going to sell drugs full time, and I was earning probably 500 quid a week at the time out of selling gear, and I was earning the same scaffolding, so we had an all right life through selling drugs and scaffolding.
Yeah.
But I just thought, sod it. I'm gonna not go scaffolding now because it was hard work, like you said. And if I knew what I knew now, I would have just stuck at scaffolding.
Yeah.
And within a couple of years, I would have been in scaffolder's money and I would have earned a good living. And then I started selling full time. And then, like with anything, I'm readily available now, all day, every day. I'm not with my kid's mum. My kids live with her. So I'm living at a mate's house. I'm readily available 24/7. And within a month, I'm earning like 1,500 quid a week profit. And I'm thinking, that didn't take long.
Wow.
And then now.
So that's really what dragged you in, because it was like easy money. And it was a lot of money.
It was easy money. Yeah. And I was earning a week more than I was a month scaffolding. And I thought, and then you start convincing yourself, this is my job, this is my career. I'm earning 1,500 quid. Imagine what I'll be earning soon. And the natural progression, because you're around drug dealers, your circle becomes crime when you get involved in it, don't you?
Surrounded by wrong'uns.
Yeah. I'm in a house of wrong'uns. And so I've sort of, and you start seeing people, you think, he's got a Lamborghini. And this is how it happened for me. He's got a Lamborghini, he's got this. So I've got my rap line going. And like these little seeds, and people probably think you don't drink, don't get on the gear. My name's about a little bit. I'm one of 4 brothers, so everyone knew us in Epping.
Yeah.
And my eldest brother, he was well known more in the pubs and all that because he was just good at pool, good at everything, good at everything. He was a big drinker and that, and a real big character. And and someone's asking him, "Oh, do you know anyone?" And all of a sudden, I've got 3 brothers who are in pubs and clubs as well as me. And they're like, "Oh, do you know anyone?" Yeah, Frank's doing it now, and that's how quickly it happened.
Talk to Frank.
They weren't involved in it, but they was, they were sort of like, "Oh, my brother's doing it now," and that sort of thing.
So it was like Better Call Saul, but it was like Better Call Frank.
Yeah, if you've got if you need drugs, call Frank. Right. He'll get them to you. And and it just snowballed. And then I got a phone call from like a bloke in the area that I knew who I knew was higher up the chain.
Yeah,
he said, "Do you want to give up your rap line? And do you want to?"
What was it called?
Rap line, so selling raps.
Oh, okay.
It was in our little. People called it so many different things, didn't they? But in our little Kinetman and whatever. And it was. Do you want to come? He knew I split up with my kid's mum.
When people rang you, did you answer the phone and go, "Hello, the rap hotline"?
Yeah. Hi, Frank here. Can supply all your needs. No, they. All right, mate. Yeah, what do you want? Putting a voice on, I was. No.
Do you know what I always find funny when people talking code on the phone and they think they're being clever and they're like going, yeah.
Can you get me an Uber?
You couldn't get. You couldn't drop.
3 pairs of trainers off.
Yeah, can you drop them 3 pairs of trainers off?
So as we had one, mate, can you come and drop that Uber off? Henry Hoover, and it was an Emery of drugs.
Right,
and you think, because when you later on you get arrested, you realise everything you say, even if it's, "All right, Terry, how are you today?" They go, "Because you said, how are you today? That means, can you drop the drugs off?" Because another time you said, "All right, Terry, are you all right?" They just turn it like that. So whatever you say can be, whatever you say can be looked as a code. And all they've got to do is convince the fucking jury, haven't they? It's not like they're the middleman, aren't they? They get you and take you to the jury.
Wow.
So yeah, in our case, I thought I was clever hiding my personal phone. In our case, my barrister said,
So the rap line, right? So the guy said you're giving up your rap line. But
do you want to come and deliver bigger parcels for like ridiculously amount more money?
So I suppose it was like an upgrade.
It was an upgrade, yeah. You got promoted, say. And it wasn't it was more risk because it was more drugs, but it was less risk as in like you're not out and about in clubs and you've got to put your name out. Like everyone needs, "Oh, Frank's serving up, Frank's serving up, Frank's serving up."
Because I think the other problem with that is, obviously, it's great that everyone knows, right? Because obviously,
That's weird. You need everyone to know you're selling drugs to sell them.
But the problem is...
But you want no one to know.
As soon as somebody gets caught, where you get that from, tell us and we'll let you go. It's like, "Well, Frank, there's his number."
This is it,
You know what I mean?
That's how... They reckon the police work on informants, don't they? That's how they arrest everyone.
But if you think about it, right, if you catch somebody, and most people that... I mean, I don't know your customers, but I'd assume that, most of them would be sort of...
Mine were older blokes.
Oh, really?
Because I've got on with older people. Right. I've always got on with older people. So they were older blokes, not professionals in solicitors. Also, I had a police officer who used to buy off me. It's mad.
Really?
Wow. But it was...
maybe it was him. Maybe he thought, "I'm going to turn him in."
Yeah, funny, isn't it?
Maybe an addict, but...
Yeah.
I mean, look...
He got collared at work.
I genuinely think, right, about drugs, and I've always said this, if people want to take drugs and they do it responsibly, That's up to them.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that it's illegal, but, you know, things that are legal, you know, if you look at smoking, if you look at drinking,
Or illegal ones,
right,
yeah.
the illegal drugs, right,
I
that
think-
actually people up. People are
Yeah.
dying of cancer, people
Yeah.
are dying of liver cirrhosis.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's the reasoning, you know, there's the problem around drugs is the violence. And I think you've got these villages in Colombia, these mass graves in Mexico. If you want to push it right back, I think there's so much killing around drugs.
Yeah.
If they said, oh, it's not really a bad thing because, you know, it's a bit of party powder, and they sort of tried to make it legal, you know, they're sort of accepting that these, you know, these killings and God knows what else.
I think anyway, I think I genuinely, I had this conversation with a detective chief inspector on this podcast.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like if there's a war on drugs, but if they actually said, well, we're not going to do the war on drugs anymore, we're going to legalise it so that we can tax it. Right, we're going to control it so we make sure people don't take too much.
Yeah.
And if they do take too much,
But they'd have to still use the cartels and whoever. They'd still have to use them because they wouldn't hand it over, would they?
But that might stop the killing because obviously, if
the gangs
it's
all
like,
getting what
if you look at big pharma, right?
they buy all the crops,
and if they're saying, you know, Pablo Escobar, you know, you don't have to kill anybody now. It's all legitimised. We're going to buy this off you. You're going to still get the same money.
It would take like 20 years to get.
But you've got to pay tax now, and you've got to be legitimised, right? Here go. Oh, so I won't go to jail and nobody will kill me. Okay, well I'll sign up to that because I don't mind paying tax if it's legal now.
But then all the drug dealers, it would be this: the government will give you X amount for the drugs, so all the drug dealers will be earning the same amount of money, so there won't be none of this.
Well, I think
the robbings might still happen, mightn't it?
But I know it sounds like crazy, and you know
it would definitely lessen it.
But if it was licensed, so like if you open a pub and you're selling booze, or you've got a corner shop selling cigarettes, you have to have a license, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to have a license. So and it'd be like prescription. You go to the doctor and go, you couldn't give us a bit of pub.
Yeah.
I'm going out on Saturday. You couldn't give me an E, could you?
Yeah.
But you know, but obviously. If
it
you
would take years to get it right, but in 20 years,
but if you had to be tested, right? So people do have bad reactions to peanuts, right? Lobster, right?
Yeah.
Drugs.
I'm allergic
right?
to all that. Yeah.
So people can take something and have a look at it and die, right? Somebody died. I think there was a big case and a
girl
big,
on the airplane.
No, yeah,
and the sandwich
and the girl had a
sesame seed.
It was something ridiculous, and it wasn't on the package.
Yeah,
but she died, right? And you sort of think, wow, you know, but if everybody, and again, it's a lot of work, but if people wanted to do that they have to be tested. The doctor would either say you can take it, you can't. Yeah. And if you do want to take it, this is what it costs, and you're only
when you go and buy it in a pharmacy, you're allergic to anything, and then I think it would help a lot of things. I suppose like a lot of the drug taking to
any drug dealers watch is going to be thinking sharp.
Yeah, we're talking shit. Yeah, don't. I'd lose money overnight. But yeah, I don't know whether that would be a 100-year plan or 10-year plan. I just don't know how it would even work. But
I just think, you know, the war on drugs has been going on for so long now. It's probably 80 years, 100 years.
Yeah.
And obviously it never...
What's happened? Nothing's changed.
Well, I think people do get arrested, people do go to jail. But like you've said, you've been through that process. And obviously it stopped you selling drugs now, but I'm sure somebody else has took your place.
Of course they
have, you know, so it doesn't ever end. It just keeps going.
Yeah, of course it will. It never end.
But you then
so I've stepped up.
You stepped up. What step are you on now? The second or the first step?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm miles away from the top, but I'm one up than I was, I suppose. And so I've started to live in like bigger bags, not really knowing what's in it. Like, I know what was in it, but not knowing how much and things. Just picking bags up, picking money up, dropping it here, there, and everywhere.
So you was like the DHL of Bucko Steel, basically. The drugs DHL.
Yeah. That's where uniform. Talk to Frank. No, they just become like just a drug runner, and that was my job.
Right, okay.
And saying that was my job, it sounds bad, but yeah, that was it. And I was earning more money. I was earning like thousands a week. So more money than my dad made, my mum made, anyone in my family made, right. More money than I made scaffolding. And my life went in a space of a year, as quick as it went downhill, my life in the space of a year when I started going silly things, like going out with my mates and having a really good night out, buying what you want drink-wise, and then going out the next day shopping in Lakeside Bluewater and buying what you want. And you think to yourself, man, my upbringing wasn't like this. I like to keep doing this. And it was my insecurities because money, we all know money don't make you happy and it gets you in shit. But because it wasn't done right, if I was back at school, some businessman or some adventurer or someone just took me under their wing instead of me getting under the wing of gangsters, I could have done great. Like my friend who owns the lorry firm, he's like, Frank, you would have been unbelievable in sales. He said, if you was in sales, he said, and he keeps telling me you should get into it now. And I'm like, I don't know, insecure now and I'm 40 years old. What else can I do? I'm a scaffolder. So it's you don't know what else you can do about it. But
if you crack it in sales, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's just what to sell. Where it's so alien to me, you just don't know, do you?
When you got into this, gone up this ladder.
Yeah.
What would you say was the most cash you've ever seen?
Well, do you know what it is? The guys who I work for, I could walk past them in the street and not knowing. So I was sort of contacted by one person, and then I was given a phone.
So you sort of kept at arm's length then?
Yeah, right. Because I was the weak link, wasn't I? If anyone's getting nicked, it was me because I'm driving with the gear in the boat.
Got it.
So I think I was kept in.
Were you picking a cash up as well?
Yeah, I was picking cash up and dropping gear off, whatever. Right. It was just like when I was getting a bag from someone, I knew it was cash, but when I was getting a bag from a certain place, I knew it was gear. So.
But you didn't actually open it up and look at it?
No.
Right,
no
okay,
way.
so it was literally just like, there you go,
there
you go.
And the bigger bags. I walked into a room once and it was as big as this and the cash was like that high on the floor. Wow. And that was, I wasn't meant to be there, but I quickly had to go there for something.
How much do you reckon was there?
No, I wouldn't know. That, what are they, 5-10 grand high in the whole of this floor?
Wow.
And
so it's probably millions, yeah. Millions.
God knows. But it was, like you can see, there was a massive operation, but it was just, I was so, it's good really, because these guys know what they're doing. I didn't have a clue what was going on above my station, what I was doing. Yeah. So if I got arrested, who can I grass on? The one bloke who met me, and I weren't going to grass on him because I knew him and my whole family lived in the area. You're not going to, your whole family, kids, your missus, everyone knows them. You think it's no, and these people that grass, they're only like, I think the people that go over these drug lords in America who are looking at hundreds of years, they're the only ones. I don't think anyone really now, people might accidentally grass someone up, but I don't think, my barrister said to me, Frank, I went no comment all the way through the interview because he's like, Frank, 99% of people convict themselves in the interview with the police. Right. Trying to wiggle the way, trying to think they're smart. So just like my brief just said, say no comment all the way.
So you're flying after a year, and then did you then get upgraded again, or was that?
No, that was it.
Okay.
I was like, Terry, I was doing it 14 months when I got upgraded and I got nicked. I didn't even get a good crack here. I was scared. No, I'm joking.
So what actually happened when,
So a job's, I'm doing the day-to-day thing and I was told, hang about, there's a job coming up and it's quite a big job. And I was never told that before. It was just get on with your shit, stay quiet. I didn't go clubbing and pubbing. I wasn't that person. I'd go out to local bars and that, but I wasn't that person. So I wasn't one of these my bag, giving it tons and all that. I just wasn't like that. I was probably the perfect candidate. I had my kids' weekends and I'd spend money on like clothes or silly things, like take my kids like in a camper van, just like go canoeing or something. I wasn't that, typical cliche drug dealer. I just was, I don't know, I wasn't different. I looked like I wasn't, if you know what I mean. I looked like the type, but I wasn't. And and then I was told to hang about, something's happening, you got to go up the road. And I knew it was a big job because there was a bit of a buzz about it. And I thought to myself, oh, this is bigger than what I normally do. And then I was just told, you'll get a phone call and you need to meet someone in Faden Boys. So I've got that phone call. It was like April 2009 this was. No, around 2009. Hold on. Fucking so long ago. Yeah, 2009 I got arrested. And it was my dad's birthday, April, So I've hung about, I've got this phone call, go and meet someone in Faden Boys. You're going to get a bag and you're going to drive miles away. And I've never really drove miles away. So I thought, this is obviously a big deal if I'm driving miles away. So I've gone to, I'm hanging about in Faden Boys. I've gone to the bakery before, walked in the bakery, looked in, and I'm a bit paranoid anyway. I'm not the sharpest tool. I'm pretty not academic, but I know if I see something, I'm not, and if something don't ring right, I'm a bit of a feeling person. When you walk in a room, you think, this don't feel right. And I walked in this bakery and a woman's gone, does anyone want anything else? Oh, does anyone want anything else sort of thing? And I'm thinking, it's only me and this bloke in the window. So as I've walked out, I've clocked his cup and in his cup, there was all like coffee scum and it's been there for ages. So I quickly looked at him and he was dressed in outdoor clothes, looked like fucking Bear Grylls. And I've looked him up and down. He had an earpiece in. Do you know the skin-coloured ones?
Right.
And I was like, shit. So I've gone round to meet this guy in Faden Boys. It's silver car. I was told to meet a silver car. I can't even remember what the car was, in Faden Boys. And I've pulled up next to his car. And in my life, I was forever meeting people I didn't know. Told to go here, meet this person at this point. And I sat there. I've done in the Spanish drop in my book. I was told to sit at a fountain. I sat at a fucking fountain. Some bloke come up to me and said, "All right, Frank." And I knew, not everyone knew who I was. And I've handed him a bag. Like, do you know, you think to yourself, what the fuck? Anyway, so this guy in Faden Boys, I've seen him again. I've gone and told the bloke who's giving me the bags. He's like, "Mate, you're taking these. Follow me. We're going up north." I said, "I've just seen a geezer. It was a bit weird in the bakery in Faden Boys. It's a bit weird." And he's gonna, "It ain't for us. We're going miles away." So I followed him. And we're fucking going miles. And we've ended up going to Pontefract Castle. I've pulled
Where's
over
that, in Wales?
Up by Leeds.
Leeds, wow.
Past Leeds, miles. Yeah, I think, is it Border Wales? Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
Pontefract. It sounds a bit
Yeah,
Welsh,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
And there's no sheep there.
Right, okay.
So not with wellies on anyway. And, so I've gone up there and we've pulled in a car park and this silver car's pulled up next to it, talking to his Land Cruiser. And the guys have got out this Land Cruiser. I thought, God, they look fucking rough, them two. And then I've been waved over and I've come over and I've got the bags out, these Hessian bags, and I've put them in the boot of this car, and the bloke's swearing, fucking that. And one bloke's going, "Here, mate, can you do something on my phone and help me take the back off?" And I'm like, what? And it was all a little bit, and I've been on enough meets now to know, do you know, like in the drugs world, they look smart, or they've got a nice watch, or they've got nice jeans. There's something about them you can just know. Do you know, like you're sitting there and you can just tell if someone's at it or not. Not being suspicious, like you just know. You don't get into drugs dressed like a tramp and look. Some people do, like they keep their low profile. But I looked and I thought, these just don't seem right, and they're swearing a lot. And a lot of drug dealers were just like, "All right, Till, how are you? All right, mate, how's the kids? Yeah, fine now. Do you watch Arsenal the weekend while you're handing fucking bags of gear over?" That was how it was. Right. It's mad, really. Right. But that is how it was for me anyway. And like hiding in plain sight, like what's that, Catch a Thief, in it? Don't look, hide in the shadows. And he says, Cary Grant says, "No, they're looking for me in the shadows."
Right.
It's that film. And so I've done this meet and I'm thinking, that ain't right. On the way back, I've looked and I thought, I need petrol, and I've pulled in a petrol station and the silver car's pulled in behind me. "What are you doing?" I said, "Just getting petrol." And I get a drink. And I've got the petrol pump and I'm like that. A van pulls in and a geezer gets out of the van, and Terry, I've looked him in the eyes and he's looked at me and I'm like, fuck. And he's looked at me and he's looked at me and I've looked at him, and I think he knew, and I'm like, shit. I've gone in quickly and I've put in like a tenner in my car and that ain't going to get me back. So I've gone in and I've said to the bloke, this bloke, and I was like, "Mate, that bloke there was the one I told you earlier about the calf." And he's like, "Fucking get away from me." And I'm panicking now, thinking, "Oh my God, what do I do?" And I thought to myself, I'll go and stand in the toilet. I'll go and sit in the toilet. And then, do you know, when you go, I've gone in this little service station toilet, and I'm thinking it was a small service station, like petrol station. Yeah. And I think, hold on a minute, there's a window there. I can see. Do you know, you're quickly thinking, right, the car's driving out that way. I've jumped up and I'm sitting at the window. A silver car's drove out, and the van's followed the silver car. And I'm thinking, they're after him, because he was up the ladder a hell of a lot. I think they put him on a 10 most wanted. Wow. In the country, but in the end, the guy they arrested wasn't the guy. He was arrested the wrong bloke, and it's mental what happened. And
you say what his name is or not?
The guy they was looking for, this guy called Jamie, and they arrested another guy with the same name, and the poor guy was a plumber, and he ended up spending like on remand for a year. Wow. Whole life turned upside down, and he got acquitted in trial. It wasn't him, and so they I've gone back and I'm ringing a bloke that I know. You know what, that job today, blah blah blah, and they said, no, I think you're paranoid, blah blah blah. And then when the job happened, I got a phone call saying, "Frank, remember that job a little while ago? He's gone over." And I'm like, "What?" And he's gone, "Yeah, you was right." And I was like, "I fucking knew it. What do I do now?" And they've gone,
that was the guy in the silver car?
In the silver, no, the bloke I work for. Like, that guy in the silver car, I don't even know.
Right,
Didn't even know. I was told to meet the silver car.
Over, what did he mean by that?
So reading my paperwork after I get arrested, that meet was videoed, and I found out, and it's quite funny. Reading an interview, and my brief's like, if we might go for bail, Frank, we might try and get you bail here. I've gone, why? And he's gone, because blah, blah, blah. And he's rung me and said, "Frank, I'm going to have an interview. We're going to have to come in and see you." He's gone, "This video, we're not going to be able to go for bail." And I'm like, "Why?" Watching this video, and it's the film of the meet when he put in the things in the car. And I'm looking at the thing, the video's ending 3 seconds, and I'm like, well, you can't tell that's me. And I didn't get picked out on an ID parade. They said a guy with grey hair, because I didn't put any gear in me, it was all washed, and guy with grey, and they didn't pick me out in an ID parade. And he said, well, go for bail. And he's gone, Frank, wait. And I said, there's 3 seconds left. He's gone, wait. And just as I've opened the car door, I've turned over my shoulder, and the police camera went on my face. So if I didn't turn around at that point, because I was paranoid, opening my car door, I probably would have got bail and maybe got away with it, but I wasn't bothered about getting away.
But you weren't aware of any filming or anything? You just,
No, we
you
weren't.
just thought the actual guys were weird.
That's weird that the guy from there, and then a couple of days later I was told, I think you're just imagining it and all that. And I was like, really? I'm not imagining it. Are you fucking kidding me? I know I see a geezer in Fading Boys, and I see that same geezer. Like, I've seen you now. I could walk past you anywhere in the world and I fucking know I know you're quite distinctive looking, but I know it's you. And where I was, well, I suppose where I was just a runner, and I looked up to these people, and I wasn't academic, and all my life I've been told I'm a fucking idiot because I'm thick, sort of thing.
Right.
And it sounds bad saying that, but I sort of believed it. Yeah, maybe I was imagining it. Anyway, didn't think nothing of it. Got a phone call, job's gone over. What happened? They've done the van. I said, what do I do? And they said, go on the run. I said, what do you mean go on the run? And they said, like, you got enough money? And I said, well, I haven't got loads. And he's like, well, you need to leave the country because you're going to get nicked. And I was like, never heard of anything from anyone after that moment. That was it. I was like, no way, what do I do? Told my family I f***ed up. But in the paperwork, I found out later on, the guys picked the drugs up in the van, and the police have done the van that day, which was a Wednesday night.
But was the guys that you met, the bad ones, were they?
They were undercover officers, I found out. They're
right,
Rob and Roy, their name was. No one fucking saw it coming, Rob and Roy.
Right.
And they were Northerners. And I sort of thought to myself, I've never really met any Northerners because I'm a little town in Etby. Northerners are on telly. And I thought maybe Northerners are just fucking rough. And they look rough, and they were just rough.
So they were undercover police, and then
they were selling the drugs.
Oh, they were selling the drugs, right?
Yeah, so they were selling it. Soccer was Serious Organised Crime Agency was selling the drugs to us, and we were buying the drugs off of them.
Got it.
And my role that day, I found out, was dropping the bag 328 grand off. That's what I got arrested for. Got conspiracy to supply Class A and money laundering, and I got 9 years for that.
Wow.
And you do half. So in the grand
when you got arrested, was it because you said you left the country? So
I've told to go on the run. I've gone on the run, thinking, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm on the run in England. I've gone to Newquay thinking I can be a bit of a beach bum or blend in, and the police are just stopping searching you. And I'm thinking, what do I do? I'm laying in not spoke to my kids. I told all my family I fucked up. And going back, on the night of when the drugs got picked up, I was followed from like Harlow to Epping, and a helicopter hovered above my kid's mum's house, and all the police have come in a row. And I'm like, fuck, what have I done? And my kid's mum looked at me. I wasn't with her. My kid's mum looked at me and she's like, that's for you, innit? I said, I think it is, because I've done something the other day and it just didn't seem right. And I said to the police, what's going on? And they're like, oh, nothing. We're looking for someone covered in blood. And then they all drove off. Didn't think nothing of it. Got my paperwork like years later. That night, about 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night, someone went to go and pick the drugs up, and they called it off because they said something wasn't right. So drug dealers had gone to pick the drugs up, and they've like called it off, something ain't right here. And it was a Wednesday night. And I've said to my kid's mum, I used to get the kids drop them off about 7 on Wednesday. So I think they're going to nick me just as they picked the drugs up from the van. They was ready to nick me.
Got it.
But because I tried to hire a car, so all this link was to me. My friend hired a car for me. Scummy, really. I give my mate cash, and he hired the car for me, and his ass got fucking raided.
Right.
Anyway, and yeah, so I've gone on the run after this helicopter things happened and all that, and I've been told the drugs gone over, just leave the country. And I'm laying in a hotel room, and I'm thinking,
where'd you go?
Well, I'm laying in a hotel room in Newquay.
Yeah.
And I've heard that song Beach come on. Do you know All Saints, All Shores? And I thought, yes, I could go to fucking Thailand, live for no money, and be a beach bum. Because I've always fancied myself being a bit hippie and a beach bum or something. Right. And living in a camper van or on a narrow boat. And I thought, that's what I'll do. I'll go to Thailand. So I've gone to the airport, and I waited for the last moment, booked a flight, got the flight, and all these little girls think, oh yeah. And I'm on the airplane flying to Thailand. I think, yes, I've fucking done it. Yes, I've done it. And I've beat the police. And I'm on to Thailand, and couldn't talk to my kids. And I was so close to my kids. Didn't live with them, but I was so close. And I'm in Thailand, and it's starting to sink in now. Hold on a minute. Thailand's not England, and I'm a bit of a Europe person. I've found out I don't really like the jungle sort of that side, and been to places, and I just think, oh no, I quite like Europe, and I think, oh, I don't really like it out here. I'm missing my family. I'm really family orientated. One of six. We was a tight knit family, and then my friend who rented a car for me, his house got raided, and I was like, oh shit, they're gonna spend money. So I rung home. Like, run my kid's mum, and I said, I'm in Thailand. She's like, what the f-? They haven't spoke to me for months. My family knew I was gone on the run, but not known. And so I've said to her, if I come home, if I get nicked, will you bring the kids up to prison to see me? And she's gone, yeah, of course I will. We didn't get on, still didn't get on. But, when it's serious, I suppose you have to say, for instance, something happens with your kids. When it's serious, you got to pull your socks up, and you put everything else to the side. And I've come home on the aeroplane. Oh, no, she said to me, I don't want to make your mind up. I don't want to make your mind up. But Louis at the window the other day, my son, and he was 5 at the time. And he said, where's my dad gone? What's happened to my dad? And he was at the window, just staring out the window. And you think to yourself, picturing him doing that, even that does me a little bit. Yeah. Picturing him doing that. And I thought, f this, I'm coming home. I don't care. I'm going to face the music. Because really, Terry, I don't know, knowing me enough sitting there, I'm not a criminal. I never was a criminal. I just got involved in crime. I'm not one of these blokes who's going to have someone over or beat someone up because they owe me money. I'm just not a criminal. And I said, I'm going home. I'm going to face the music. I don't care what happens, but will you bring the kids up to see me in prison? She's like, you might not go to prison. I said, I'm going to prison if they're raiding my mate's house. But I was still green. So I'm on the aeroplane, Terry, and I'm thinking, right, if the aeroplane lands, I'll get through. And if there's a little gap, I'll get out an airport. And I run my kid's mum, and will you come up the airport? Was it kid's mum? No, I think it was my mum. And I said, will you come up the airport and pick me up? And they're like, yeah. And I think, what am I thinking back now? What am I doing getting my family to come to the airport to pick me up? Do you know, I was that fucking naive and that green. But I had no coaching, which you're going back to business now. We could go to schools and talk to all these kids, but if you don't coach them, can't just tell them don't commit crime. You've got to tell them something else. So I had no coaching, just went home to face the music. So I'm on the airplane listening to English Country Garden, still remember it, sat next to an Australian kid all the way there. And I'm like that. And they said, we've got to have our seats. And I've been on enough airplanes. And they said, can you get back in your own seats for health and safety reasons? And I'm thinking, this is it. So I've sat back down, put the earphones in, I'm listening, and I'm like that, and I'm looking up and then all of a sudden the doors are open, everyone's sitting down. What's going on? It was a straight flight as well for Thailand. Everyone's tired, and I'm looking, and the police have come on. I thought, oh fuck. And even then, I'm thinking it might not be for me. Don't know what it is. Something wrong with me. I don't know what it is. Yeah. What's that big river in Egypt you're swimming in? The Nile. And and then they've come on and they said, are you Frank Stedman? And they're pointing over to me in their ear. And
no, it's him. It's him.
Yeah. I should have said this bloke. Yeah. And they've gone, you're nicked. So I'm like, no shit. And now, knowing what I know, I'm not a fighter or anything. I've just got up. And the airport police, get back in your fucking seat. And I'm like, what the f? And everyone started screaming then. There's a woman next to me, like a bit older, middle-aged woman, nice looking woman sitting there. She's all like, on the way, they're all turbulent. So that was a big one. And I'm thinking, she's fucking screaming. I'm like, I just want to get my bag. And then the soccer agent, two, only know who I know. I'm talking like I know. I didn't know what was going on. 2 police officers, airport police, 2 people in suits, a woman and a man. They were soccer agents. They were organised crime agency. She's put her hand on his shoulder. Said, put your gun down. I'll get the things. They probably looked at me and thought, we've arrested enough criminals. What's he going to do? Right. And pull your hair, pull your eyelashes out. And but they're the airport police. They're probably ready to go. Probably had nothing to do for the last fucking week of that. And they thought, yeah, we're going to stick a gun in someone's head. It might not have been a gun. It might have been a taser thing, but it was definitely, he had 2 hands on it. And I was like, oh. And took me off the airplane and then all that, and then got arrested, conspiracy to supply Class A. And when they read interviews all night, and I pleaded not guilty, and then I found out through my solicitor that my family was outside, my kids. And then when the soccer agent come out, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, I said to him, like, I shook his hand. I said, oh, thanks for that earlier. Because what happened was, when we come out, I said, my kids are outside when we're going through the airport. And can we go out any other way? And the airport police go, no, I'll just put a coat around your fucking arms and all that, being a dickhead. But the soccer people are a bit more, they deal with serious criminals. So they know serious criminals ain't going to kick off and all. Everything's planned, isn't it? So they're not going to kick off and make a run for it at an airport or have their family outside. And then the coppers come out of the room and he's like, shit, at the airport. And he's pure white and he's gone, yeah, we're going to take you out the side door. So I've shook the copper's hand at the end of the night. I said, thanks for that, because I found out my kids were outside and that probably would have traumatised them with me coming out of all police family handcuffed. I could have, they said we'll wrap the coat round you and all that, but I just think it wouldn't have been I couldn't have stayed there. They're going, where are you going? I'm going with these. I'll see you in 10 years. And imagine, I'll be back soon. You'll be 6 foot and have a beard by the time I'm back. And and then I got arrested. And at the end, when they read your rights, Frank, and I found out in the interviews, there was a lot of, and it was 299 kilos.
299
kilos.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what they said. So my role in it was a part payment for the drugs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. So it.
I mean, no wonder you had the serious organised crime agency.
They set it up and they were selling it.
It's just like crazy.
They were selling it. So something's happened. Our case started in a book, and they reckon what my barrister seems to think is.
I understood if they were buying it because then they'd be entrapping you, but them selling it.
So what my barrister said to me, Frank, the only thing I can do here, because there was a I don't know whether it's right, a PPI, a public interest order, and what he's saying is it starts with a meeting in Waltham Abbey, and you think, hold on a minute, what, a meeting with two blokes in Waltham Abbey talking about drugs? What happened before that? And they said they're protecting somebody. So what my brief seems to think is the soccer have arrested an importer, and then the importer said, listen, I'll give you a massive gang in fucking Essex or wherever you want if you don't, if you give me. So soccer has pretended they were the importers.
Right.
And then that's what's happened. And there was a couple of Colombians in my case, and there was another guy. I didn't know any of them. Didn't know anyone in my case. And then, and then I got remanded in custody and was on remand for like a year. But then all this shit starts happening. So a month into my sentence, I've been asked to go to a video link on a bus, and then I got called back, and I'm like, what's going on here? And it was all a bit weird because I wasn't meant to go. And then I'm sitting out in the yard with the sun on my face, and I was thinking, I'm back in Wormwood Scrubs. That's where I got put to. And I thought, I'm back in Wormwood. It's mad where you get settled in a prison, you don't want to move. And I'm like, I'm back here. I know a few people here. And I'm talking to a couple of all my friends are older blokes, talking to these old blokes. And the SO's come to the door of the yard. And he's gone, Stedman. And I've looked, fucking what now? Because I've been shipped halfway to Leicester that morning and back. And when the SO calls you, it's something like a screw would come and call you, say, Stedman, you can't, not the SO, he's the senior officer of the wing. And the old blokes have gone, you're in trouble. And I'm like, oh God, what now? So I've gone there and I've said, well, what's the matter when you got a visit? Wasn't visiting times, but I was new to prison, so I'm thinking maybe it's a legal visit. I'm going, well, who's visiting me? And he wouldn't say a fucking word. And I had a laugh and a joke with a screw in there, and I was taking a piss once, and he's like, Stedman, like, come on, you take a piss. I went, I can't go, Gov, I can't. And it was like an old Jamaican bloke. He's looked over my shoulder. Well, it's not as if he's got fucking far to go, is it? Right. So I had a bit of a laugh with him, and he's ignored me. And I think, what's going on here? So gone down to the legal visit. So I think, it's a legal visit. But then you're thinking, well, everyone's sort of ignored me. It's a little bit weird. Am I getting rearrested for something? 'Cause you hear things when you're in prison. Rearrested for something I've done before. And I've looked through the glass, and my brother's sitting there. And I thought, fuck, family ain't allowed in legal visits and all this. And I thought, shit. And outside, my eldest brother, one of his ex-girlfriends passed away. And I knew it was her funeral recently. And I just know something's happened. So I've opened the door, and my brother's turned around and looked at me, and I knew. And I said, it's Kane, innit? Like, what's happened? Thinking, he's either drunk or an accident or something.
This is your boy?
My oldest brother, Kane.
Oldest brother. Right, okay.
And I'm one of 6, but 4 brothers. My other brother Liam's there, and I said, he's Kane, innit? Thinking because he was a bit of a nerd, but nothing major. But he's had an accident or something, and he's gone, yeah, he's died. And I was like, what? And then and I sat down with my brother Liam and said, like, what's happened? And he took his life. My brother topped himself. So, and then
that must have been fucking hard for you being in there as well.
Yeah, so it was shit, and it's like shit for the whole family outside. But then I've had to go back on the wing, and you've got to put a fucking face on and all this shit, and it was shit. And then but then this is what I'm saying, like, these people that get involved in crime and all that, this shit happens. So I've put him to go to his funeral, and then I'm up in the first night centre. I've got the best job in the prison with the bloke originally and all that who helped me out in prison. And then the security come up and they say, Stedman, sit at the back of the room, put your arms behind your back. I'm like, what's going on here? And they took me down to segregation because they've looked into letting me go to my brother's funeral. And they said, oh my God, he's been arrested for all this. He's got funds to break out. So I've got cat aid. It's all when you're on remand, so technically not guilty. And so I've got sent down to segregation, and I'm in a prison cell with human shit all over the wall, in segregation this is, for 10 days.
That's a nice welcome, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've gone in there and I'm
was
Jesus
it any,
Christ.
I mean, is that just a normal thing, or?
I think in segregation, everyone's a little bit fucking loopy, aren't they? So he shit up his cell.
Wow.
And I've gone in there and I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I've sat back on the bed and they've shut the door and I'm like,
don't have wallpaper. They actually use shit now.
Yeah.
Weird.
It was like William Morris. I put in my book, it's a nice William Morris. This bloke was no William Morris.
Wow.
Fucking hell. And I've looked about and I'm like, oh my God. And the window was broke. And I thought, I'm in segregation, no telly, integrated toilet, a chair and a bed. And they've come around and said, Stedman, like, do you want anything? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what's going on? And they said, the governor will come down and speak to you. And the governor goes in segregation every single day on his rounds, goes and sees every single person. And as we are now, I'm still polite. I'm not sitting here going, you fucking arsehole. I'm just not like that. Because I look at these screws and I think they kick the shit out of me. Why would I do that? So I'm just still being polite to all the screws and I'm just like, what's going on? And they said, we've looked into letting you go to your brother's funeral. And we've seen what you got arrested for. And you fall under the category A prison thing. And they're like, you've got some visits coming up. Can you not have the visits? I said, it's my birthday on the 10th of August. I've just lost my brother a week ago. My mum and my sister and my auntie's coming up to see me. Like, can I not please just have one visit? And they're like, well, we've got to shut the whole prison down and we'd have to move you with dogs and all that. I said, can I just have one visit, closed visit? And they said, all right. So I said, please, I'm not going to cause any shit. And then, so we had this closed visit and they're asking me what's going on. And I'm like, I don't really know. This Cat A thing and blah, blah, blah. The governors. So what it was they're telling me little bits every day, knowing what I know now. They wasn't saying, you're getting Cat A and you're going to Belmarsh and you ain't going to your brother's funeral. They couldn't say that because I could have kicked off and gone, F this. So they was going, oh, Stedman, we'll find out tomorrow. So 10 days in segregation, staring at the ceiling, whether, then that moment I feel like it makes or breaks you. And I used all that shit and just thought, no, I'm not breaking. I'm refusing to break. And whether, I can thank my brother for giving me that strength in what he done. I can't thank him for that, can I? But, sitting there in segregation thinking, I've got to use this. I've got to use all this heartache, all this anger inside me or whatever I've got to get me through this. And I think it just completely, that 10 days in segregation made me, like you say, I regret all the shit I've done. I regret going to prison, but it made me who I am today. That moment in there, and it was either make or break. And I just thought, no way am I letting this break me. And and then I got Cat Aid and got sent to Belmarsh, and it was and these things, all this shit happens, and I was a normal kid. Yeah, I was a normal kid, just got involved in.
And then you obviously had your case.
Yeah, that was a year like we was on remand for 10 months. I pleaded guilty.
Right, okay.
Because of that video of where I turned around in a fucking camera.
And I take it, if you hadn't pleaded guilty, you'd have got a lot bigger sentence.
Well, so when I was in court, it was all Cat Aid. It's all propaganda to get you, like we had a Colombian in our case. When you're Cat Aid, you turn up in suits, there's guns everywhere. The jury think, they're guilty. Of course they do. And I pleaded guilty. I got a bit of shit with my codees because they all pleaded not guilty and I pleaded guilty. So technically it's a crime now because I've pleaded guilty to it. And I had a few rows with a couple of my codees and I said, mate, I don't know you. My barrister said to me, if I plead not guilty and get caught up in a case, I'm getting 17 years. And I've dropped a fucking bag of money off. And you start learning stuff when you're in prison. You think to yourself, sometimes in life you've got to be selfish. And I was selfish then because I could have run the case and we could have turned around and said, this ain't a drug deal. We was going to rob these people. And these weird crimes, like I met a Greek bloke in prison. He cut a drug dealer's head off.
As you do.
Yeah. And the Greek government represented him in court. And the English government and the English court system was like, what the fuck's going on here? And they found 400 grand in his bank account. And he said he was a massive drug dealer and he cut off a drug dealer's head. But they found in that drug dealer's handwriting a letter of, operations. Terry, go and kill Frank's kids. Go and do this, go and do that. And it was in that bloke's handwriting. He had his head cut off. He'd been on remand for 4 years. And because he protected a minor, he got off because he was protecting his children. Wow. And they said, where's all this money? And he said, I'm a drug dealer. And they're like, hold on a minute. So he pleaded guilty to being a drug dealer, but because he wasn't charged with drug dealing, he was charged with murder. That's how he explained all the money. But we was talking to him and we was like, hold on a minute.
But he got not guilty.
He got not guilty because he was protecting a minor. But then when the Screws told us when he left, they said he had the Greek government representing him. Like this geezer was one power. So they, so we think like the Screws and that was saying what they got from the case. He worked for the Greek government. Something's happened, and he's had a fucking nutty row with someone. I don't know, but they said he got away with because they found a handwritten letter of someone that was going to murder his kids, murder children, and he was protecting a minor, and he killed his bloke before them. And he got time, not guilty, sorry, too. He got time served. He got 8 years for protecting a minor, and because he'd done 4 years on remand, he was out of court. Wow. So yeah, going back to what you were saying, you know, all these crimes, you know, it's you know, I pleaded guilty to it, and I've sort of fell out of a few codees because they're thinking to themselves, we could have said this with Robert. I said, I don't know you. I've been told I'm getting 17 years. I've got young children. I've got a family. My fucking brothers died. My mum and my dad, I watched them on a visit, and then the next visit they come on, they were fucking 30 years older because of what happened to my brother and what's happened to me all in the space of a month. I was in prison a month, and I'm like, I watched my dad, and he was like, I cuddled him, and I'm holding him up in a visit, like his legs are going. I'm thinking, fucking stand up. And he's like, and my mum, like, they're just aged overnight. And this bloke's trying to have a go at me for pleading guilty anyway. So I pleaded guilty, got 9 years, which,
what
you know.
to them?
So my codees, they got, the two codees got off under duress, and 2 codees got guilty of being main conspirators of that case, and they got 28 years each. And 20, it's funny, it's not funny, in the court, so their family didn't come for sentencing. I just went to court for sentencing, behind bulletproof fucking glass. And I'm standing there breathing on the glass, and
you're doing a lot of fun, like smiley faces.
Yeah, that's to the judge. I heart you, and I've got me long hair.
Wasn't me. I plead guilty. I just want to go home.
My mum's got curly hair and brushes her teeth. Remember that? And so we're standing there, and I'm looking, and it's only my family there. My kids' mum's there. We don't really get on. My dad's there. My mum didn't even look at me.
Wow.
And they've got 28 years each, and I'm thinking, fuck, they're getting 28 years. And my brief said, Frank, you're a tiny part of this, but what you'll be governed what they get, you know what you'll get. And 28 years, he said, if they get the higher end of their sentence, you're going to get a higher end of yours. And I'm thinking, 28, and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm going to get like 18 years here. Because I'm thinking they're only going to knock 10 years off. And then the judge has said, Mr. Stedman, I'm going to sentence you to 12 years. And then blah, 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 9 years. And I'm so fucking thick, and I don't know what's going on. Afterwards, I said to the brief, how long do I get? And he's gone, you've got 9 years. I'm happy with that. Because my brief told me before, I was in the room afterwards thinking, yes, my brief told me, look for about 14. I got 14 in my head. But my barrister at the time, he'd done my mitigation to the judge, and he said, you know, Mr. Stedman's first time he's ever committed a crime. Technically handed himself in because he'd come back on his own passport. He was in prison, and he got category R, and he wasn't allowed to go to his brother's funeral. And then on one of when you get cat age, your family has to be cleared. So this is the protocol. You put in an app, and then the prison look at it. They send it to the government, the Home Office. The Home Office then send it to local police. The local police go and interview your family. The local police sends the paperwork back to the Home Office. Home Office send it to the prison, and then you could book a visit. So imagine how long that takes. Luckily, my kids' mum, my dad got cleared within a couple of months. But from when I went to Belmarsh, I didn't see any of my family, my mum and all that, till Christmas. And I went to Belmarsh in July, and then we had a Christmas visit, and they turned my family back at a Christmas visit because the paperwork weren't right. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So all these little things, like I said earlier, Judge, do you know, you think you just got to fucking keep going. I was never bitter. I was never rude to a screw because I think he's doing a job. Someone's up, but you just think, being bitter and twisted is just only going to make my time harder. And then, so when...
So I've got a question for you, right? So the code D's got 28.
Yeah.
The others got not guilty.
Yeah, the guy
if you'd have gone,
go on.
If you'd have gone not guilty, would you have got not guilty, or do you think you'd have got the 28?
No, so I wouldn't have got 28 because I wasn't the main conspirator. So I would have run trial, and my part of it was dropping off a bag of money. But my brief said, Frank, you would have been caught up in it all, and you could have been made to look like an organiser, because there was the guy who met the undercover officers, took a car key, and that car key he dropped off somewhere, and then the bloke who picked the van up picked the car key up and picked the drugs up in the van, and they was going mad. Where's this bloke who picked the key up, because they don't know how he dropped the car key off? And they was going mad about him. My brief said, Frank, they're going mad about this bloke and they're trying to say it's you. And I'm like, what do you mean they're trying to say it's me? They're trying to say that's you because that will put you in as an organiser, Frank. And when I got arrested, they swabbed my bag. I said, there's traces of cocaine in it. I was like, fuck off, there's not traces of cocaine in it. And anyway, so when we went into court and I went for sentencing, the police have stood up. Mr. Wigglesworth, their barrister was, and he said, Your Honour, we think Mr. Stedman was higher involved. I know he's got agreed facts. I've got agreed facts of I got paid £1,000 to drop a bag off. And I didn't know what was in it. I knew it was dodgy, but I didn't know what was in it. And the police said, we'll let you plead guilty to that, but we're not just letting you plead guilty. We'll let you plead guilty that, you was asked to drop a bag of money off so you knew what you was doing. And I was like, yeah, fine. Because then I think it makes it look like a crime. Instead of me shit myself pleading guilty because I'm scared, it makes it look like there was a crime because the police set it up.
Yeah.
This is what my barrister said to me, but I didn't give I think I've got to... And then, so, where was I getting at? And so, the mitigation, the coppers stood up and said, Mr. Stedman, we found... Your Honour, we seem to think Mr. Stedman had hold of a lot more money than he handed over. We think he had money stashed. And we think Mr. Stedman's been doing this job for ages, which everyone in the room knows, because you don't just get called up to drop off that amount of money or pick up that amount of drugs. And we swabbed his bag and there was traces of cocaine in his bag at the airport. It's a bit like the CV world. You can cut things how you want. And they said... And we have looked into Mr. Stedman travelling away. He went to Spain, France and Morocco all in a couple of years, and he wasn't there for a long time. So we think Mr. Stedman was couriering drugs and money all around the world. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And my barrister said to me afterwards, Frank, if you went not guilty with them agreed facts, kept me as a drug runner who picked the bags up. So luckily I got the 9 years. And he said, Frank, if you went trial, they would have put you on trial and you would have got 20 years. You wouldn't have got 28, but you would have got 17, 18, 19, 20 years, because they would have made you look like the bloke who picked and he was just a young, slim bloke. And one of my codees who got off, he said, this young athletic lad, not that I'm athletic, young athletic lad with blonde hair sat next to me and told me, pick up the fucking van. So, and my brother said, that would have been you. They would have said, that was you. They would have said, that was you. And you would have been an organiser then, not just a drug runner. He said, and you would have got, and you think, thank God. Thank God I fucking shit myself and pleaded guilty.
Yeah.
And he told me, if you run trial, you could look at 16, 18 to 19, or you can look at 12, 13. And I'm thinking, right. And then all that mitigation happened. My barrister said, Frank, Mr. Stedman, he missed his family's funeral, he missed his family, blah, blah, blah. And the judge scribbled something out and writ something. And the woman I was handcuffed to said, she said, I saw that. So I think I was getting a 12, but then the mitigation of what happened to me when I went in prison with my brother and not seeing my family. And the judge knew, looking at me, he said, Mr. Stedman, I understand you pleaded guilty to agreed facts, but you carried an amount of money that's worth more than 90% of the houses in England. And where I'm from Epping, I'm thinking, God, the houses are loads of money, but you don't think up north and everywhere else. Yeah. And he said, you was a part of this organisation. This wasn't your first time, I understand, but I have to go with the agreed facts. You think, God, everything's worked in my favour for once. My barrister was really good. And I got 9 years and I thought, God, lovely. But then it's, I was in prison a year then, and then I got sent to Loudon Grange. And and your kids grow up. My son was 5, my daughter was 1. My son was 10 and my daughter was 5 when I got out, and she was getting undressed in front of me. Oh, Daddy, can you look the other way? When she was really little. And I'm thinking, shit. And you're having visits, shit visits. you know, when I saw my family for the first time after all of that happened with my brother, it's just like, yeah, it's, you know, no matter who you are, which you've spoke to probably in depth more criminals than me, everything ends in shit, doesn't it? Essex boys, they got if the Essex boys, not saying the Essex boys should have done anything else, but, you know, if they applied their knowledge or whatever they'd done to business, like you said earlier, they wouldn't have been shot in a fucking Range Rover in a farmer's field.
That's it.
And it's not so much they might not have cared because they were so in depth in prison, but it's everyone you leave behind. Like you, no matter who you are, whoever you are. Like I saw a homeless bloke outside the Liverpool Street train station today. If he died, you're leaving a hole in someone's life, aren't you?
Absolutely.
If you like going to prison, I left a massive hole in our family's life, and it was luckily our family are really tight, and my family, no matter what I've done, you know, if it wasn't anything really dodgy, but like. You know, they was there for me, and I come out to a family, but people haven't got that. Some of these kids, you know, their mums and dads, or dads have left, and their mums are pissheads, and they're, you know, living in a flat, and they're probably thinking, how can I, you know, get me and my mum out of this flat? And they've got, you know, Jay-Z telling everyone he was in the projects and he got his family out by selling gear. It's, you know, it's a tricky thing, but you know, there's so many things that happen in prison that these kids don't see. Like you said earlier, we never think we're going to get nicked. And I never thought I thought I might get nicked one day, but you never think you're going to get nicked and then this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And, you know, my brother taking his life, I know it, you know.
You wouldn't expect that to happen either.
No,
you know, it's just
don't. You know, I know people have ups and downs. You know, they said there was a bit of drink and a bit of drugs inside him, but no, not like, he wasn't a drug addict. He was just a little party. But he was just so low, you know, a partner of his passed away. He had a 10-year-old son. And you think to yourself, fucking hell, what the fuck have I done?
Well, also as well, and I know this isn't anything to do with you getting banged up in jail, but when you're in jail and that happens, you must have blamed yourself. You must have actually thought, is this my fault? Do you know what I mean?
Terry, do you know what? No one's ever said that. I've never really said it out loud before, but there's a part of me thinking, and I don't know whether it's you're making, it's not all about me, but it's part of me thinking, fuck me being in there, did that contribute to what he done? Do you know what I mean?
But that's what I mean. You kind of blame yourself. And also, you know, if you weren't in jail and you was outside, you might have had the chat with him and he might have
been there.
He might have said,
I might have been there.
He might have said, Frank, I'm fucking really low. I'm really upset. I'm this, I'm that. And you'd have gone and put your arm around him and said, look, mate.
Yeah, he had a few moments like the lead up to it before and a few people, but it, you know, nothing like trying it, but there was a few like dark moments with him where he's saying I'm fed up and shit. But yeah, I might have been there, but this is the thing. I can't blame no one. No. I don't want no one to feel sorry for me. And sitting there, you know, watching this thinking, oh, the poor bastard, I fucking done it. I put myself in prison. I knew what I was doing. You know, I didn't mind when I was, you know, in a restaurant or in Blue Water by myself atop. I didn't care then. Yeah. Didn't care that people were dying in freaking villages out in Colombia being killed for all that gear and that. But I can't blame no one else but myself.
I mean, one of the things that I've noticed about people who have committed suicide, and unfortunately, there's been quite a few people that I've known over the years that have taken that route. And at the time, I always find it, I struggle with it, why they've done it, because I don't understand it. But somebody said something to me recently, and I'd say there's probably 6 people in the last 5 years that I know really well that have done it. And I had a conversation with someone recently, and I said, I just don't get it, you know, why they would do that.
Yeah, I'm the same as you.
And I said, people around them, if they've had an argument with them, if they've split up, if something else has happened, these people are going to blame themselves or feel that they are in some way guilty for it, even though it's probably nothing to do with them, right? But obviously, they're always going to carry that around. Is this because of something I've done or said, or because I'm in jail, or because I've split up for my wife? Is that why she did it, or whatever? And the one thing that this guy said to me, which was profound, is he said, look, he said, if somebody is in that space and they decide they want to go out like that, you just have to respect that's what they wanted to do.
They're happy.
And there's a reason why they've done it, right? And you might think it's to do with you or it's something to do with somebody else, but it's their choice. And he said whether you agree or disagree with it, you have to go, well, if that's made them happy or they found peace by doing that, you might not get it, you might not understand it.
No, I'm sitting outside having a coffee earlier with the sun on my face, thinking life's amazing. Them split moments, they keep me going. But Robin Williams, the actor, he checked out because he was fucked, wasn't he?
Heath Ledger. I mean,
they checked out.
Even when you're a massive movie star and you got all the money in the world, you know. Do you know what I mean? And you don't understand it, but it's and it's a terrible thing.
It's not a weak. Do you know what? A lot of people, I think everyone's fighting their own battles as well on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
I think some people, everyone jokes around, don't want to wake up on a Monday, but everyone's fighting their own battles. But I don't think it's a weakness. I think it takes massive balls to do something like that. But then also think to myself, mate, imagine I think with my brother, imagine if it was a cry for help and it went wrong.
Yeah.
Like he hung himself. And I'm thinking, did he do it because he had enough that moment and it just happened? It happened. Like it actually went through with what went through with it. And, it was, but if you know 6 people who have done it, it must have been all different, but don't know.
I'm kind of hoping there's no more. And for anybody who's, watching or listening to this podcast, I think if you do feel like that, you should always reach out.
Yeah.
And talk to somebody.
Don't be ashamed of talking to someone. I think it's easier to talk to a stranger maybe because you don't lose that. If you're in a pub and you say to your mate, like they do these adverts having a drink, I feel really damn, mate. You're not gonna talk to your mates like that. You maybe have 1 or 2 friends and they're just gonna console you, but they're not professionals.
No.
So I think maybe talking to a stranger about it.
Yeah.
I think go for a walk.
I mean, look. I mean, I've had moments in my life when I felt like the world's ending, and you do fucking question why the fuck you're here. And I mean, Conor Benn recently had all that stuff with the drug testing, and I don't know if he got banned from fighting or he lost his license. There was a load of stuff, and he maintained that he was innocent. And I've known him for a long time, and I just couldn't believe that he would do that. And that's as a mate, I just couldn't. I know him. Do you know what I mean? It's just no way he would do it.
Yeah.
Right? But for whatever reason, there was the allegations, and he actually's come out publicly and said, "I actually fought a fucking enemy in my life." So you imagine, he's fucking amazing boxer.
Yeah.
His dad was a world champion. He's got it all going for him.
Everyone would think
he's got a beautiful
everything.
wife. He's got beautiful kids. Amazing family. He's a religious man, right? And he had that thought. And that's because of somebody, saying, well, whether it was a genuine thing, whether it was a mistake, whatever. But that could have, if he hadn't have got through that, he could have done it.
Yeah.
And everyone would be going, well, why the fuck's he done that?
Yeah.
I mean, he had everything to live for.
I feel like I'm lucky now in the way of. This is going to sound stupid. All the shit I've been through, which is self-inflicted, a lot of it. I'm lucky I've been through that shit because I was saying the other day we was talking about this, and I said, in life now, no matter how hard it is, how my head's going or I'm feeling bad, it would never be as bad as that moment in segregation.
Right.
When I heard about my brother laying in segregation, he's shitting on the wall, and the screws say, "Do you want to?" No, I don't really read. Do you want a book? No, Jane. And you think to yourself,
mate, I love to read the book, but I'm just busy looking at all this shit.
Yeah.
It smells so nice. I'm just living it,
Put my name, people marking days off in shit, yeah. And
I mean, anybody watching this must be like, it's just crazy that we're even like joking about it, but I mean, it's fucking insane.
I laid in a cell on a bed. There was an integrated toilet, a chair and a bed. I stared at the ceiling and all I had was my thoughts for 10 days in a room with human shit all over the wall.
Wow.
And it tasted like shit. It weren't chocolate.
Wow. That's definitely too much information, Frank.
Yeah, it's all right. Just to make sure. Is that chocolate? No, that's shit. And but yeah, this is, and I try and say my message is, I was a normal kid and all them shit, I could have been there for my family. I could have been there for my brother. I could have, and the last time I saw my brother was on a visit in Wormwood Scrubs. What the fuck? My son and daughter sat on my lap, and the first time I heard them talk, my daughter, sorry, not my son. First time I saw my daughter walk was in Belmarsh. First time I heard her talk was in Belmarsh. These things people put on Instagram. Look, my son's walking on the beach, and mine's was in Belmarsh. It's fucking
It's a shame
ridiculous.
you couldn't film that because you go, well, that's nothing. My daughter's walking.
Yeah. Look at my daughter come walking in like that with all.
She's in Belmarsh, mate.
Yeah, with her hand behind her
She's not on
back.
the beach, mate.
Yeah, and like my kids were coming in. My mum said it is funny, but it's not. The kids come in and like putting their arms out and putting their feet up where they used to it, like being searched by the people. And these things, touch wood, it's not mentally. My daughter was very young. My son sort of remembers little bits of it, but everything I've been through and done, it's given me the knowledge and the strength. Like if my son started getting involved in all that, and there was some sort of gangster around him, I've got the strength now, I think, within me to go and say to that bloke, I don't care who you are, I don't give a shit where you're going to shoot me, stab me, beat me up, but stay away from my fucking son. Do you know what I mean? And because kids are impressionable. And, when my son was little, I used to tell him how to play football. Yeah. And he would listen to me, listen to the manager. Yeah. And I was good at football. So, kids don't technically listen to their parents as much as they would do. But yeah, I just, these shit things happen if you get involved in crime. There's no one gets involved in crime and comes out the other side. And even the Godfather, his daughter gets shot at the end.
Exactly. There's no happy ending.
But
you get to the end of your sentence. You come out.
Yeah.
And then what was you thinking, maybe I'll go back into crime, or did you say?
Yeah, I had I come out with no money, nothing, bin bags. And I had a couple of friends, Frank, that I met in prison, real proper blokes, older blokes. One of them's passed away now. And he said, Frank, do you want to come take a cash machine out of the wall? I said, well, what do you mean? I said, how much is, he said, it'd be 200 grand in it, me, you and another.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I'll be all of a sudden, I'll be like having loads of money again. Another bloke said, I want to get into Essex. He was a northerner. You can tick as much gear as you want. I want that place has got loads of money down there. And I was thinking, fucking hell, it's quite easy to. But I looked to my family. If I owe it to my family, what they went through with me and my brother, my kids, not having a dad around, I thought, I can't buckle.
So you had the opportunity to go back, but you decided to go right.
No, I just carried on, and went back to scaffolding, carried on, working through the winters, scaffolding, and then you just keep going, don't you? You just think, I know what's right now because I'm older, and I know what the plan is, and I've got a few plans that I want to do and I'd like to do, and like that TV program there was on, I loved that, and I thought to myself, this is like got my little drama student head on from when I was a kid, and I thought I enjoyed all that. Right. And it was like, and I'm thinking to myself, there's a big, massive world out there. There's so much you can do, but it's but then like a couple of years ago, I had a heart attack, but it was due to an infection. Right. And this is where the criminal record comes in again. So I had myocarditis, and it was an infection, got to my heart, the walls of my heart swelled up, my heart closed up, bang. I was at work, like stretching. Like doing a hang thing, like with my hands, and I felt sick, and I thought, what the fuck? And my throat closed up, and I felt, I was going to shit myself. Do you know when you have a puff of a joint when you're young, and you thought, I'm pulling the whitey, and all the lads starting to piss out of me. Woke up next morning in real pain, and then went to hospital, and this was I was 38, I think, and they took troponin. Troponin is an enzyme in your blood that knows you've had a heart attack or heart damage. Everyone's is 0 to 2. Mine was 36,000 and 100,000 plus. And they're saying the scale stops at 100,000. So it could be more. So if you were 70 years old or older, we would have said, you have had a massive heart attack. Here's your tablets and retire. But it said, you're young, you're fit. We don't know what's gone on. And then they found out that it was myocarditis. It was an infection. And then my missus said when I was in hospital, do not Google it. So I Googled it when I got out. And I was like, oh shit! It's the second biggest killer or something in men, or third.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and there's, do you know when American footballer's gone over and died? A basketball player, a couple of footballers have gone over with inflammation of the heart. But it's been going on for years. But myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, and pericarditis, inflammation of the sac the heart sits in. Yeah, like their words have been going around for years, and that's what it is. It's not like they've not seen a car called myocarditis. Oh, we just call that like that. Do you know what I mean? That's a nice name. And so yeah, it's been going on for ages. And then I was off work for 16 months. Didn't know if I could go back to scaffolding. Yeah, looking for jobs, and no criminal record. No criminal record. No. And I'm thinking, fuck. Even me, if someone sent a criminal record thing, he ain't got a criminal record, he has, they've got both qualifications, you're going to think, oh, I'm in a criminal record, I don't know. So that's where the interview comes in, isn't it, obviously? But I'm thinking, I've got no... I've done loads of extra work. When I got out of prison, my mate said, just do some extra TV work, Frank. Yeah. They don't worry, and you can do what you want as and when you come and go for a couple of days a week or whatever, do what you want, because you know you're coming out of prison, you're not going to want to go straight back in. Yeah. I went back in scaffolding for about 2 weeks, and my head was gone a little bit, and I thought, I need a bit of time just to readjust. Yeah. Started doing extra work, and then as soon as they put the DS thingy check, what's it called?
They do a check, don't they?
Yeah, it's funny because Banged Up done a SBS. Anyway, Banged Up done a check on us all, and I thought, why are you doing a fucking check on us all? That's why you want us to have criminal records to be in the program. And the extra work, I was in EastEnders, I was really regular, I was making a living out of it, and they just said, no, sorry, no more, stop ringing me, no more work. And I'm ringing them, is there any more? Nah, there ain't. And I was thinking, I was working every day up until my check went in. So yeah, just think, and this is what people don't realise. I got arrested at 25, got out of prison at 30, and then at 38, I had a heart attack and nearly couldn't do my job again, and my criminal record pops up again.
Wow.
I was driving the lorries, scaffolding for my boss I'm working for, again, scaffolding there. And he got a phone call from the insurance company. Oh, Mr. Stedman, we've just seen we're not going to insure your company if you let him drive the lorries. So if I was just a lorry driver, I've lost my job there.
Wow.
And this is what I try and say. I talk to a couple of these.
It's not just about doing the time. It's about when you come out.
Yeah.
Like you're hindered in getting on.
Well, and one of them celebrities said, I don't know whether you'd see. I don't see it because I've been in prison, but I don't know whether you see it in every single person you met who's gone to prison. One of them celebrities come out of that program at the end and he said, I don't know how a man can go in this environment and come out normal. And do you know, when you watch it, I looked at my missus and she's she's crying when he said it. And I was like, what are you crying? She's like,
you're not normal, Frank.
You're normal.
You was facts.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring it up, but now he's brought it up. You're
Frank,
not normal.
Put that knife down, Frank. What? And and I was like, and when someone else saying it, you don't realise, fuck, maybe I am fucked. Maybe we are just a little bit fucked. But I think
I think that's why I get on with lots of people on this podcast because I think I'm fucked.
But yeah,
I think I've got a warped sense of humour, which helps.
Dark sense of humour is great. Yeah, that is the dark sense of humour is definitely. So many things I joke about, and everyone like, for fuck's sake. But it's when you've been in serious shit, where in your life,
and you have been in serious shit when you was in solitary.
Yeah, serious shit, Laura Ashley shit, and. And you just think it's never going to be that bad. So what's the worry? I know you've got stresses in life, but when you get caught up in like I was stressed out recently, really stressed out about something, and I'm like, I've turned the corner a bit now because it's gone away. It goes away. Like we're going back to that suicide thing. It goes away. But then they reckon they've done a study and there's something in someone's brain, that commits suicide. They're either missing or something. There's something in their brain that isn't in people that don't commit suicide's brain. But how do they know someone? You can't do a test on someone who's not committed suicide.
Yeah, I think
because they're still alive.
Having spoken to people and gone into a little bit of more detail on people that have done it that were
I haven't looked into it that much.
But there's a couple, and one of them had built up a sizable fortune, and basically something had happened, and I think it was COVID related. There was a lockdown, and then some of the businesses that he run couldn't operate. He'd invested in some stuff that didn't happen, and a lot of things. When the world shut, everyone went, well, it's great because you can get a bounce back loan, you can get furlough, we can all sit at home, we haven't got to do this, we haven't got to do that, and a lot of people did start working from home, and it was great. But other people had their whole fucking lives decimated.
Yeah,
and obviously, if you worked for 40, 50 years,
and overnight it's gone,
and then you've lost everything, and you're like. In your 60s, I get why somebody at that point would go.
And his formula to make that money was 40 years formula. So he's thinking, I ain't got another 40 years. Yeah.
So you kind of get why he checked out.
And a lot of people are emotionally attached to their businesses. Some of them, aren't they? It's their baby. When that goes, they'll be like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
It's not easy business. I've always been insecure about business in the way of like. I'd love to work for myself. I'd love to have something to call my own and say I've done that, but I just don't know how or what. I don't know. You know, you've got to go out and talk to people, ain't you?
Definitely.
I'm pushing myself the last couple of years, but you think to yourself, fuck, like when I had the heart attack, I was off, and a prison officer who I become friends with told me, Frank, why don't you go on a podcast?
Yeah.
And that just blew my mind. When I didn't realise the power of a conversation, and I've messages all around the world saying, you've helped me here, you've saved me here, and one of them's like, you've saved my son, and I'm like, what the
But people, that's why I love the podcast medium so much, because people can talk. And, you know, when we sat down earlier, we didn't have a list of questions. We didn't know what we was to talk about.
No,
it's just organic. And the thing is, it's better to have a chat, and you never know what's going to come up. And I've found listening to your story and hearing about what you've gone through to be inspiring. And when I say inspiring, I mean inspire people that if you go down that path, that's what could happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you go down that road, you know, you could go, you know, you might go, I'm going to go not guilty and get 20 years. And he'd be sitting there going, why didn't I go guilty? But the thing is, you know, the good thing, Frank, is that you haven't reoffended, and you have done a book, and you are obviously trying to do the right thing and provide for your family. So,
like people, like you said earlier, I've not made no money out of anything that I've done to try and help. So I've not done it. People think, oh, he's got a book out. He's been on telly. He's done a load of podcasts. No, I've not made no money out of it. It's costing me money, showing days off of work. But I'm that passionate. I just want, if, you know, I've had people message me and I think I've done my job here, but then I've got that fire in my belly where I want to fucking set the world alight. So when one person says, you've stopped me getting in trouble. Like one kid messaged me, said, I've got these I was drug running and I've lost the parcel, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying I've lost the parcel, but I didn't. And these blokes said they're going to kill me. I said, mate, just run away. He went, what? I said, run away, go to Australia or something. And he messaged me 6 months later. I've done what you told me. I've run away to Australia, travelling, and one of the blokes has been killed and the other bloke's in prison for 20 years. I said, look, your problem's gone away now.
Yeah, come back.
And he went, you've saved my life. Yeah, come back to England,
Because
couldn't
now
he?
I'm saying Australia, it's fucking...
Yeah. Australia's great. But I just, and like, with this play thing, you know, if this play could be getting to schools of my life, and I don't mind putting my name to it.
Well, listen, you've heard it here. You've heard it here first that Frank's story's going to be turned into a play.
Well, yeah,
to educate the youth to make
get
sure
some funding. Any companies out there who want to get, they just needs.
And what if people want to contact you directly, Frank?
Instagram, I'm on Instagram all the time.
What's your handle?
It's Frankie ST10.
Right, there you go. So that's how you can find Frankie. If you want to talk to him, send him a message. Or you know,
book on Amazon.
Put Chip in for his play. You know what I mean? So,
that'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah.
But you know what? I'll tell you what you should do, and this is just some free advice.
Yeah.
You should do a crowdfunding because if you said to people,
that is,
this is what I want to do, you can set up a crowd.
It's only not only £5,000, but it's £5,000 they need to set this up.
But
it
the
needs
thing
to be
is,
screen written. You'd understand it more. It needs to be written like a play.
Yeah.
And then it needs to be set up.
But if you did a crowdfunding thing, right? People can actually crowdfund the idea, and obviously if they get a piece of the play, and you know,
this I don't know how it works. I know there's royalties of licensing.
But what I'm saying is, say it costs you £5,000 to create this, but then every school in England says, we want this, they're going to pay you a fee for it.
Well, the guy who wants to write it,
he's
got 2 plays that have been played 6,000 times each around the world.
Wow!
And they reckon it's been one of the plays have been played the most.
Brilliant. Well, we'll have a chat, obviously, about that. But I've got some ideas to help you get that off the ground. So we'll have a chat after the podcast.
After the podcast.
But Frank, so much. I'll say it in a minute. Fucking hell. Frank. Oh, Frank. But Frank, seriously, it's been really good having you on, mate.
I've enjoyed it. It's been good.
Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
And you. Thanks for having me on.
And even your story. And if you want to find out a bit more about Frank, you can look him up on social media. You can get his book. But hopefully this has been informative. I thought Frank was an amazing guest. So thank you so much for tuning in. And make sure you like, subscribe, and tell all your friends about the Criminal Connection podcast. And we will see you next week with another exciting guest.